Harry Potter's third year at Hogwarts starts off badly when he learns deranged serial killer Sirius Black has escaped from Azkaban prison and is bent on murdering the teenage wizard. While Hermione's cat torments Ron's sickly rat, causing a rift among the trio, a swarm of nasty dementors is sent to protect the school from Sirius Black. A mysterious new teacher helps Harry learn to defend himself. But what is his secret tie to Sirius Black? Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode we'll be covering 2004's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, directed by Alfonso Cuaron.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Double Feature. Welcome back to episode 298 of Midnight Double Feature. Here we are. Colin, my main man, what's happening, baby?
Hey, what's up, dude? I'm here. Excited to talk about some Harry Potter.
Some Harry Potter?
First time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not first time watching it, first time talking about it. But yeah, I'm excited. We're rounding the bases on 300 and finally talking about some Harry Potter.
First time talking about Harry Potter, which is an absolute, what the fuck? For it to have taken this long, I think, this is always going to be the first one that we talk about. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but we'll see when we get to your thoughts on it. Because in my opinion, I think this is if you have to watch one, this is the one. But we'll get around to it, right? We actually have a little bit to talk about here before we do, break into Harry Potter. We on our socials made a little bit of an announcement, or made a little bit of sent out a message to the sphere, the social sphere. And if you're not following us on our social media, so there's a couple points to take away from our message. Number one is that we're taking a bit of a pause. So we are pausing our coverage of our movies for a period of time that we don't know yet. And that's down to a few reasons. We didn't really kind of give reasoning in the messages, but we'll kind of talk about reasoning coming up here a little bit. But that was the first point. And then the second point is that we're actually launching a new podcast. Colin, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so as many of you may or may not know, we not only on top of this podcast, we have a Patreon, but we also have a Bad Crystal, a Breaking Bad podcast that we do that we've had a lot of fun with. We've had a lot of success with. We've really enjoyed it. We like the format of the shorter episodes and having a much longer, basically a 5-season movie to talk about, and which I do enjoy that a lot. But we are launching one specifically about The Sopranos, and it's going to be called This Thing of Ours. And I know we're both really excited to jump into it. We've been talking about Sopranos forever. I definitely dropped some hints on some episodes where I can't remember what we were talking about, but it was it might have been Killing Them Softly when we started talking about Sopranos. I was like, man, somebody should definitely do a show about that. And you were like, all right, anyways, we're you built a bridge over that so fast that it was it fucking made Bob the Builder's head spin. But it's
I Fortnited my shit with the hell out of that dude.
Yeah, I think I enjoy doing stuff like that and kind of teasing stuff, and when people oh, that's what that was a reference to or something. So I know we're excited to talk about it, and we're excited to pick back up on Bad Crystal, which we definitely need to get the ball rolling on and do some more of. And This Thing of Ours is going to be basically the same thing that we're doing with Bad Crystal. I'd say 2 episodes a month, probably one every 2 weeks. Is that probably what we're aiming for?
I'd say so. Yeah, one every 2 weeks. We're going to smash through Breaking Bad first, and then roll right into The Sopranos. But yeah, that'll probably be the release format, is one every 2 weeks, just so we can, Colin and I can sit down and record them in sort of blocks and chunks and stuff like that, and then have them sort of ready to go for a release. Because that way there's no delay between release episodes, and we don't want there to be any delay between. There'll be a bit of delay between seasons, but there won't be a delay within the seasons between episodes. So
right.
We don't want that to happen at all. So we're really excited about that. We've got some awesome art on the way that I showed Colin. It looks pretty sick. Thank you to my friend Carlos. Not Carlos Freitas, another friend Carlos.
Did you have a hyphenated last name?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
what's up, dude? Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's cool.
Yeah. He's awesome, man.
I didn't want to blurt out his last name, by the way. I didn't like just in case. I was like, I don't know.
That's why I don't think he keeps it a secret. If you can, he's definitely in the after party. He's awesome. And he's definitely talented, man. Like the guy's got a penchant for artwork.
Definitely.
And, he showed me this awesome sketch that he's been doing of a Cobra from the Planet of the Apes movies. Dude, so detailed.
I love those movies so much.
It's so good. But yeah, man, like let's get into a little bit of reasoning. You already kind of like dived into it a little bit. One of the reasons why we are doing this. So you mentioned that, you know, we love the format of Bad Crystal, right? Like we love these sort of like 1 hour sort of like, you know, it's like covering a 5-season movie. You know, we love diving into the psyche of these characters. We're with them a bit longer. We can sort of like talk about or interpret like particular decisions that they make a little bit better because we come to know these characters over time. And like, I don't know, like I just find that a little bit more rewarding at this point. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I think there's a lot of times we've picked movies and, you know, one of the reasons that we've waited so long to do these bigger movies like Harry Potter, I know we've kicked around quite a few big ones for like the last ones. A lot of these bigger movies we've waited to do because, you know, once you talk about it, it's gone and that's it. So it's kind of nice to be able to do a TV show where, you know, it revolves around different characters and different plots happen and there's new characters added and old characters leaving. And it's pretty cool. And it's awesome to be able to do that about arguably like the best television show of all time. I think that you can make a very successful argument for The Sopranos being, if not it would be a biggest show of all time. Absolutely massive. And don't know if, I mean, I would love to eventually talk about Many Saints of Newark. I mean, I think that's kind of like, you know, if you're talking about doing a podcast, it's going to come up inevitably. So I'm not opposed to doing it at all. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do it. But we got to get through 90 something episodes first. So we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. And I think it'll be a lot of fun when we get down into it.
No, definitely. I think it'll be the same consideration of us kind of covering the Breaking Bad movie as well, because there's a like they made a Netflix movie after quite some time after, and like I guess the other reason is practicality, which is probably the main reason at this point in our podcasting sort of careers. So if you haven't listened to us before. Colin and I have been doing this pretty steadily for 6 years, and we live on opposite sides of the planet. Like, you know, this is like, you know, Colin's obviously in the United States. I'm in Australia. We've actually never been in the same room together. I hope to change that soon.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I drop the case. I'll let you know if I call off the restraining order.
Yeah, the what is it, 6,000-mile restraining order?
Yeah. It's like, I'm from Atlanta. I just had to come. I had to move here.
Right. I had to run. Anyway, so it just, my point is that practically it starts to become a little tougher to jump on a call with Colin. We only get 2 windows a week to be able to sit down and record. And obviously this is one of them. And for me, it's Saturday morning. For Colin, it's Friday night. And the other window is either Sunday for me, Sunday morning, and Colin Saturday night. Because we both work full-time jobs. We both, you know, have other commitments. And if you go back and look at our run times for these episodes, these are quite long. So So, like, my Saturday mornings blow out into Saturday afternoons, and my partner and I don't live together. You know, so my partner and I both work full-time jobs, and when it comes time for us to spend time together, sometimes the podcast it has recently started to get in the way, and it's a bit of a bummer because it's just kind of like where we are in life at the moment. We are planning on buying a house soon. So like that's going to alleviate eventually, and that's why we want to say that we are taking a pause on movies and we're not stopping movies altogether, because we will be back and we'll be in a better position with our time um eventually, and like where our sort of like priorities lie with our time. So
Mm-hmm.
because I'll be living with my partner, like I won't be looking forward to Saturdays and Sundays as much, to like go out and do shit. So, and like Colin, I know you're kind of like the same, right? Like, so Friday nights, I mean, like Friday nights and Saturday nights are, I mean, that's go time, baby. You're at the
Right.
club, you're shaking your ass, you're
Yeah.
earning dollar bills.
Fucking sucking dick through a hole in the wall. No,
doing some
no,
lines.
Yeah, no, because I like you said, we've all got. I know that like obviously you guys have a lot of like personal stuff leading up to with the wedding and stuff, and then you've got a side business. And me, I'll be honest, like I'm childless, and I fucking love having like weekend hobbies and stuff like that. So like I don't have as much going on, but it prevents you from like I'm a project guy. I've always been a project guy. Like I've always had something where it's like I was in a band, I made short films, or I did some theater stuff. I've done stand-up comedy. I've done a podcast. I've gamed like competitively. I stream. Like there's a lot of different stuff that I like to just kind of, I always like to have something creatively just to kind of have as a goal. So, for me, it's like I always have something going on that I want to, but it also prevents you from going out and getting like, oh, I want to sit down and learn how to do this or read about it. And it's like, well,
Sure.
I'm doing the podcast tonight. I can't really do another thing. Like tomorrow night, I want to hang out with my wife and watch a movie and do stuff, So it's kind of like finding a balancing act between all of that. And then, Friday night's a lot of nights where people want to hang out, where people like want to, hey man, we're going to go see the new Beetlejuice. Like, fuck yeah, sorry, I got to do a podcast, and there's been so many. It's also a great excuse when you want to get out of stuff to be on. Man, I got the thing. And
it is good. It is good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I haven't wanted to do this for years, but I have to have some legitimate reason to get out of stuff. It's like a childless man. I have to have some kind of out, oh man, the dogs, I don't know. Like, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that it just takes up, even if it only is a few hours, there's watching it, there's taking notes, there's the actual recording it, you edit it, posting it and everything. Like it definitely takes up a lot of your time, and we love doing it, but it's also going to be nice to, some people listening might not know, but in the beginning we were putting out like 2 episodes a week, and we did that for years. We had upcoming attractions and feature, and you were on both of those.
Yeah,
I was only
single.
on half of those. Yeah. Yeah. I was single, and I was getting my dick sucked through a wall in a club. No, no. Yeah.
Who needs a wall?
Yeah, it needs a wall. But the the reality of it is it's kind of nice to relax a little bit, and Patreon's not going anywhere. We're still doing the Bad Crystal. We're starting up the Sopranos podcast, and it's definitely, there's still more movies that I know we definitely want to cover, and we definitely want to get into later on down the road. But it will be a lot of fun to kind of like change gears and get to talk about one thing, instead of always hopping from movie to movie, because it's also just really hard to find some excellent movies to talk about that aren't 2.5 hours long. And it's like, a lot of our movies that we've picked that we've mutually agreed upon and liked have always been these big fucking chonkers, man. And they're fun. Like I like talking about them, but they definitely take more time and more preparation. And that's part of it's a labor of love, and we're happy to labor over it. But it's definitely nice to also take a minute and take a break and relax a little bit and focus on some other things right now, without like, I feel like so many people doing podcasts, it's like all or nothing. You either do it or you don't. It's like, well, we have an option where it's like we can still do it, but relax a little bit and kind of push the gas later on when we feel like we're back in a good spot and we've got a lot more time and money and energy to like dump into it. So we're definitely not going anywhere. We're definitely going to still keep doing what we're doing as long as we enjoy doing it. And we've got a lot of stuff like planned for the future that I'm excited about. Not just the Sopranos podcast.
Absolutely. And I think, there is a third sort of like reason, but it's kind of like less fleshed out. So like I'm hesitant to even bring it up, but like we when we do come back, we kind of want to like revisit the format a little bit, because I'm not going to say that this format has become stale, but it is like a little bit like, I don't know, it feels like a different it feels like an old form of podcasting.
Feels
Like it
very
feels
rinse and repeat, chop shit, push it out to dry kind of thing, and it's like it feels very bottled.
Yeah, so exactly. And when I mean, like, obviously, we're not hiding this at all. We stole this concept from LSJ Media and whatever, like, like
Yeah,
going through
remember, and
like
absolutely,
scene by scene and stuff, like all that shit. And even like LSJ stopped this format. Like, I mean, Dean knows that it's like that it becomes eventually a little bit too
bald move, and a bunch of them.
Right. Exactly. Like it just starts to feel a little bit, rote, and like you said, rinse and repeat, and like we're kind of like just spinning our wheels. And when we do come back, we want to kind of like sit down and sort of like revisit the format and see how we're going to do things, and just kind of like freshen it up a little bit. But yeah, man, we two other important notes that I just kind of wanted to say. So you mentioned Green Room. We definitely are keeping the Green Room, and we're still going to be covering movies on the Green Room in the way that we're covering them there now. So there's still going to be like those sort of like around an hour, a bit over an hour, almost never under an hour movie coverages. So if you do want to listen to us cover movies, you can definitely check that out. Patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. And the other point that we're going to make is that with the Sopranos podcast, it's not going to be in the same format that the Breaking Bad podcast is. Like, I won't be leading Colin through the Sopranos or vice versa. We've both seen the show. We will probably be covering it. We haven't talked about this, Colin, but we will probably be covering it, like we said, episode by episode, but without spoiling future episodes. So if people do want to like listen to it episode by episode and are watching the show for the first time, while we will have the knowledge of like how the show plays out, we probably won't be like, oh yeah, and this is how he dies in like episode 1. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll talk about that with Colin. We haven't like really kind of like hashed this out.
Hard because there's such good foreshadowing. It's really hard not to do that. But it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we'll hash that out in the background when it comes time for it. But in the meantime, we're gonna like put our foot to the metal, put our pedal to the metal for Breaking Bad, and pump those out. We're gonna get onto season 4, and then get that out. And yeah, man, like that's it. That was pretty exciting, man. Like that whole announcement. I was like, oh man, like here we go.
It's nice to kind of it's like mom and dad are still together. We just sleep in a different room together now, but it's like there's nothing. We obviously still like what we're doing, and we're not going anywhere. But it's definitely nice to kind of relax and take a break. After 6.5 years, coming up on 7 in March, I think we more than deserve a little time to like, okay, take stock, recharge your batteries, come back at it, and like you said, take a look at how we're doing it and sink our teeth into some new elements, and hopefully get some like blood flowing and stuff, and still want to get some really good interviews, still want to cover a lot of good movies on the Patreon. So I'm excited. I'm definitely looking forward to everything we've got in the pipe.
If people think we're winding down the podcast, it's absolutely not the case, man. Like this, like I said to you, like we've been getting like fucking screening invites and shit from like distributors, and I've been like, I saw Megalopolis, which is terrible. It's the new Francis Ford Coppola movie. But I mean, like I saw that 2 days ago, like 3 weeks before release. And it was like a press invite, and I'm going to be seeing the Apprentice, the Donald Trump movie.
Oh yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, seeing that early. So yeah, man, like we're getting some good shit. And I'm kind of like out there on the social media shit. Like my face is on TikTok. I hate it, but I'm there. It's so funny. I was doing some work for a friend yesterday who owns a catering business, and he's like, "Yeah, can you shoot this real? Like, I asked you to shoot like this, like this video, because like I saw you pop up on like the TikTok, and I was like, no, you saw me pop up on TikTok, dude." And he's like, no, man, you look so good. That camera that you've got is amazing.
It's a good camera, yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm just like, dude, I look so. And he's like, I know it's awkward for you. I know, like, because he knows me, so like he knows how awkward I come off in like those videos. But I'm hoping that like anyone who doesn't know me, like whatever, just takes it as it is. But anyway, But yeah, look, my point is like the podcast isn't going anywhere. We're still we're still pretty much full steam ahead. We're just pausing movies and we're launching a new podcast in the near future.
Is that a letterbox
Yep.
shirt?
Yes, it is.
Your t-shirt?
actually.
I saw the 3 colored dots. I was
Yeah.
like, I think that's letter.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course you're
yeah.
awkward. You have a letterbox t-shirt. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
People that
baby.
use letterbox are nerds. People who have merch over it. that's
I got it from
somebody who won't order online unless you can do it without calling them all over the phone. Like,
dude, it's so funny because like it's not official letterboxed merch, so like that shit costs so much to ship over here because I guess they don't have like a thing here. So have you heard of Redbubble? I got it off Redbubble. Like Redbubble's amazing. It's kind of like this basically it's just like user designed. So like it's like this big like user designed
that's cool
thing. Yeah.
That's neat.
Anyway. Yeah, all right, man. Like that's enough. Fuck, been nearly half an hour talking about this announcement.
Yeah.
Let's get to this. This is probably going to be. I'm going to try and keep this as snappy as possible. However, I do want to open this up to more of a wider discussion about our feelings and thoughts on Harry Potter as a whole, because that's kind of what I'm using this as like a sort of like jumping off point. I mean, obviously, I had to choose one movie to cover. However, I do want to talk about Harry Potter and what it means to us and like how we came about it and how we feel about it and whether you've read the books and you know, we're not going to really talk about J.K. Rowling as much because unfortunately she's still a piece of shit. But you know, unfortunately, it's just one of those things that you and I we were talking about. I think off air, you just can't deny the talent. Like you can't deny the talent to come up with something like this. You know,
so
she is obviously so thorough, so detailed, and she is a terrible person with like the not only the views that she has, but the way she expresses those views is to me pretty heartbreaking because like this essentially is my last pick for the podcast as we are covering movies in the near future. So I was gonna select Sicario and then I was like, no, let's pivot. Let's pick a Harry Potter. Let's do this. And you were like, are you sure?
Yeah. I was really surprised.
Are you fucking sure, dude? And I'm like, yeah, because like, you know, I was rewatching these movies with Steph at the time. We tend to rewatch these movies not every year, you know, couple years, whatever. Because I don't know, they're just like they're very comforting. Like they're very like they're good comfort movies.
Always remind me of Christmas. Always remind me of Christmas.
Always reminds me of Christmas and takes me back to a point in my childhood where, you know, obviously I was growing up with these movies and each one of them I have like a different memory with. So the first one was my first memory of going to the movies, period. Like just
holy shit.
Period. My mum took us. I remember that. I remember that she bought us a combo, like with like a glow in the dark Harry Potter sort of like scar. It was like a little
that's cool
scar thing. And I must have been like 7 or 8. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, like I've got memories of all these movies. I've read the books. I'm currently rereading the books. Maybe that's why I'm just like sort of like in it so much right now. However, I have mixed feelings on this franchise as a whole, like in terms of just an adaptation. And I think that's just going to be if you're a book reader of this franchise, then I think that's pretty common. Like I think, you know, if you read the books and you love the books, then you kind of come to these movies. You have a different relationship with these movies than someone who probably hasn't read the books. But look, before I kind of like jump into my tirade, talk to me about your thoughts on Harry Potter. When did you come to it? Like, were you older? Were you younger?
Oh, sorry, I just punched the shit out of my mic.
I know Lindsay loves these movies, by the way.
Yes. So I more so like knew the books. I've read the first 5 books and I never finished 6 or 7 because at the time I was just kind of growing out of it. I was started smoking weed and playing music and stuff and like getting pussy. So no, I'm just kidding. The first 2 were right. The third one much later. No, I read the first 5 books. I liked them a lot. I remember Order of the Phoenix really feeling this like tonal shift that I was like, okay, the days of like, oh, I got a new broom and it's Quidditch, and it's like those days are gone. And I was like, oh shit, okay, this is getting kind of like dark. And there's elements of that in Goblet of Fire that I really liked. I think personally, Goblet of Fire is my favorite book. It might also be my favorite movie. I definitely like the movie Goblet of Fire a lot. But I remember liking the fourth one the best. But I mean, that was 20 years ago. Like, God knows, I probably have differing opinions. But the movies I have only really watched, like, I think I've watched the first 3, the fourth one, and then parts of like the 5th, 6th, and 7th, just osmosis through like Lindsay watching them.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
like I will. They don't like rock my world really. Like I enjoy them. I think they're great. I think they're great movies. They're just not something that, like, if you put a gun to my head with other franchises, this would be lower on that list of me to like pull the trigger on, because I don't have an emotional connection to them. Now I did work in the movie theater when the last one came out, and to see Neville pull that sword out of that hat, and that crowd like exploded, and that was a
slow
very
motion shot of him killing Nagini, dude.
Yes, and that was very cool to be a part of, as like an outsider, as someone who was not. I had read the first 5 books, but I wasn't just like allegiant to Harry Potter. They're just damn good books, really good lore, really good mythology. I think they have one of the best IP, like multi-universe, like the stuff that they have going on is so incredibly interesting. And Albus Dumbledore fighting wars in the 20s and the 30s with magic, like it's incredibly interesting. I think that kind of stuff I could definitely get into, like the Fantastic Beasts movies and shit. But I like these. I enjoy them. I got the first one on audiobook like 6 months ago. I think I started it just to restart the franchise, because I mainly listen to audiobooks now. But I think I started it and I haven't finished it, but I can keenly remember. Stephen
Fry? Is it Stephen Fry doing the?
I would have to check. It might be. Okay. Whatever Audible's version of it is.
Yeah.
But I remember my mom worked at the library starting when I was in like middle school, which is right around the time that I started reading these books. And because at the time I went to a private Christian school for like 3 years, and these were like not allowed, like these and like Goosebumps.
I've heard about this.
Yeah,
I've heard about like how that this was considered like black magic, like
Yeah, because because it was witchcraft, because they were using like spells and stuff. And it was one of those things that I think the outrage was a little bit like overhyped, but there was definitely people causing a fuss. There's always going to be somebody causing some shit somewhere, obviously. But I remember
Sorry to interrupt. No. You finish your thought.
Oh, no, I was to say it must have been probably the first or second book. And by Azkaban, it was like that whole fire was like gone. Like they had been publicly picked up in the main. It was like part of the public consciousness now. Like everyone knew who Daniel Radcliffe and the other two were. Everybody knew who they were. So it's like by then the outrage was gone. But yeah, those first I think 2000. Is when the first one came out, the first book.
2000.
Yeah.
And the first book came out in like 90 something.
Well, I think it came out in England and then made its way to the States by like 98 or 99, right? I think. But yeah, that was when like I remember seeing that kind of stuff, and people were pissed off about like Pokemon and Goosebumps and Harry Potter. What?
Anything that's not, like normal.
Yeah. Oh, I could watch VeggieTales and Bible Man, but God forbid I watch Goosebumps.
Jesus Christ, man. So it came out in. So Scholastic bought the US rights in 1997, and the American edition was published in 1998.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So yeah, that was,
Yeah.
I think by 99, 2000 is when I first kind of really started, hearing about him and stuff. And, people were in a right kerfuffle about it. But then eventually, like I said, by Azkaban, that fire had gone out and they were just, they was too big to fail at this point. And like, now I don't know anybody who these days would be like, who gives a shit? It's Harry Potter. Like, I don't know anybody who would really get that, like, upset about it.
It's so funny you bring this up because I was listening to a podcast recently called The Midnight Boys. They're so good. Carlos Freitas, if you're listening right now, he's a big fan of them. But like the host of that podcast, Van Lathan, he's from Louisiana, and they were talking about like Harry Potter and stuff, and he's like, "Nah, man, we couldn't, we couldn't read or watch that shit growing up.
Yeah.
We were just like, he's like, when I was younger, one of my friends said like Wingardium Leviosa or some shit, and his mom like beat his ass.
Yeah, it was like, I remember watching Stuart Little in fourth grade, same school, and the word like damn is about to come up, and they have a kid up there ready to hit the mute button because he knows where the damn is. And right when he goes, what? He's like, why don't you close the door? And it was so fucking, I remember that little dude that his name was Matt, him standing up there with his finger on the button. I was like, this is insane. This is crazy.
That's crazy, dude. Like talk about like achieving the opposite effect, right? Like, I mean, like you would be more curious to know what is behind like the word, like what is the word? You know what I mean? Oh my God.
Right. Meanwhile, they were molesting kids like left and right. No, I'm just kidding. It was a Baptist thing. They weren't Catholic. No, no, we didn't. We were in Boston. Yeah, there was no God. No, but yeah, that was like a big deal, and I'm ultimately, like I said, that kind of blew over, and these were a big deal, and my mom would figure out when people were returning the books at the library, and then because people would sign up to check the book out, and whoever would be next would be next. But I think there was a few times my mom snuck me in above I've probably a few dozen people for me to get this hair. It would be like a Friday and she'd bring it home and be like, I have to bring this back Monday. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I would just sit there all weekend and just read as much as I could of the book, so shit like it was pretty cool to get to grow up with that kind of stuff. And they're good books. I think they're good movies. And I think we'll have a lot of fun talking about it. But personally, I don't have a lot of connection, but it's one of those things. It's like, I definitely see it for what it's worth. It's got some really incredible moments, some really captivating stuff. I really like and respect Daniel Radcliffe a lot. I think he's a really, really good actor. I think there's a reason why I feel like a lot of people, like the younger people from these movies that have moved on, have done some other stuff, obviously, but I feel like Daniel Radcliffe has just really taken off, and he's just on a variety.
Lately,
dude, he's sure. Weird Al. He's in Horns. He's in just so much shit that I'm like, man, he is a incredible actor, and I'm really excited to see like where, especially when he gets older into like his 40s and stuff. I'm very excited to see where Daniel Radcliffe's career is going to go.
Same, definitely. I'm not going to go into like this big ass backstory, but like, I mean, like, yeah, like I said, the books just meant a lot to me. I remember finding the first one in kind of like a sort of like a bargain bin one day, like when my mum was like shopping, and I kind of like asked to pick it up because like the cover art was just so striking to me. Like it was just the big red Hogwarts Express, and then like Harry Potter in front of it, and I was like, Mom, I kind of want this. Like I want to read it. And I went home and I read the shit out of it, and then I just kind of like, like history was like that was it. Like that, I was off to the races. And by the time I had like really started to pick up reading them, Goblet of Fire was just about to come out. And by the time I actually caught up to Goblet of Fire, it was out. But I remember for Order of the Phoenix, for Half-Blood Prince, and Deathly Hallows, going to the midnight launch of those books.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm talking like, yeah, I was, yeah, for the books, not for the movies. I remember like going to fucking Kmart over here and like buying those books as soon as like they were available. And like, I just have like very, very like vivid memories of like opening them and reading them in the car ride home. Like, I genuinely couldn't wait to like read those books and get them in my eyeballs. In terms of what my favorite book is Order of the Phoenix, pretty much by like by a pretty fair margin. I think I just really like the whole idea of like Professor Umbridge and like the interference of the Ministry of Magic in Hogwarts
Yeah.
affairs and stuff. Like all of that is like real interesting to me. Like I love the way that Umbridge tortures the students. Like like this whole like making him like write lines and like it gets etched into the back of their hands. I just thought like all of that was like really like, is that legal?
Right.
That was like my first like, is that legal? And surely. Um, Plus, like like Order of the Phoenix has the first big sort of like character death. So, like you said, like that was the first one that really kind of like, oh, we're not playing around no more. Like,
Right.
sure, like Cedric Diggory dies at the end of the
Yeah.
Goblet of Fire, but like he's not really,
Yeah. He's in.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. In and out in that book.
right, exactly. But like when Sirius dies in Order of the Phoenix, it's like no, like
Yeah.
it's like oh my god. And then obviously in Half-Blood Prince, Dumbledore dies, and then it's just like, whoa, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man, like I think I've always had a love for these books. I think the books are so incredibly detailed. Like there's just so much going on in them. Like the like the world. I've never seen world building quite like this. Like in terms of just like how imaginative it is, and it's just like it really captures your imagination as a kid. And you really just like end up being like absolutely captivated and you just want to stay in this world as much as you can. And as these movies were coming out, I remember like watching them in theaters as a kid, and obviously on release day or whatever. And I'd sit there and I'd be like, it doesn't really happen like that in the book. And I'd be like,
Hmm.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And it as the movies like progressed, it got worse and worse. Like so Prison of Azkaban was we'll talk about it. To me, was pretty fantastic. Goblet of Fire was also an okay adaptation, but for me, the worst was Order of the Phoenix, and I think I just had really like high expectations for that one because it was my favorite book. Um, and it's interesting because like it's the longest book in the series, but it's the shortest movie in the series. And I'm just like, I don't know how they did that. I don't know how they took the longest book and made it the shortest movie.
That's weird.
It's so weird. So they cut so much out. And then like there's like other things as well. So like at the end of Half Blood Prince, there's supposed to be this big battle in Hogwarts where after Dumbledore dies and Harry's chasing Snape and stuff like that, and there's like this big huge battle that rages. They cut all that to make a bigger battle in Deathly Hallows so they could save a bit more money and make it a bigger sort of like affair. Um, there's like other things like that, and like we don't get Peeves the Poltergeist and in the books
Oh
at
yeah.
all.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that kind of like really kind of gets left on the cutting room floor, and some of it for the better, like to kind of like make it a little bit more sort of like streamlined. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like I think there is I've kind of warmed up to the idea of it now, but when it was announced, so there is a HBO series coming out
Mm-hmm.
about this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be like a Fantastic Beasts or anything. It is going to be these like an adaptation of these books.
That's so fucking weird, man. I'm sorry. That is so weird. I'm happy people are excited for that, but the last one was what 27?
Right.
What?
Right.
When was the last Harry Potter movie? 2014?
2011.
2011. 2011.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that what, 13 years ago, and we're already rebooting this, and we made 7 movies out of this. I don't know about that.
I think it is a bit soon. However, I will say that if you were born in 2012, after the movies had already finished, you'd be 12 years old right now, which is almost like which is a bit later than when I started reading the books. So like if you've missed the boat on this, and you're a kid, like I kind of get it. If you're at that age group, for us, it's like nothing, right? It's a drop in the water.
Right.
Like you said, like you were like 2017. I'm like, dude, no.
Yeah.
it was 13 years ago. But like like I said, when I first read about it, I was like, oh god, are we seriously doing this? However, the structure that they've announced that they're going to be doing it in the way that they're doing it is really intriguing to me, because it just alleviates the issues that I just said. So each season is going to be one book, and they're
Mhm.
going to ultimately have 7 seasons, and each season will flesh out the books in detail. So they're not going to have as much left on the cutting room floor as, say, these movies, which to me intrigues me a lot. Um, but I don't want to see like a straight sort of like adaptation or whatever. I want to see what pretty much what Alfonso Cuaron did to this movie. I want to see like a sort of like a showrunner's vision for these movies, or like I just want to see like what people do with this material, because the first two Chris Columbus movies were pretty fantastic in like sort of like introducing you to this world, like sort of like this like Home Alone esque like childlike
Mhm.
wonder, sort of like you know. I think he was a perfect director for those first two movies. Just kind of like bringing you into the joy of this world, and like bringing you into the wonder, bringing you into how exciting all this is for an orphan like Harry Potter. Um, but then once we get to Prisoner of Azkaban, so Columbus stepped away because he wanted to spend more time with his children. And the producers were like, okay, well, David Heyman, who's producing the movies, was like, all right, man, we need to find a new director. So he went to Guillermo del Toro first. And Del Toro was just like, nah, like, look, I don't like, I want to take this in like a direction that I don't think you guys will let me do it.
Of course. Yeah. That
They
sounds
went
like
to
Del
other
Toro.
directors. Yeah, they went to other directors. They actually went to Shyamalan, and he was like making The Village, um, and look, that is what it is. And then
Yeah.
Del Toro asked Alfonso Cuarón to direct this movie, and Cuarón was just like, "Yeah, let's fucking do it, man." And I think I can feel Alfonso Cuarón's fingerprints all over this movie, because it feels so. If you've seen Children of Men, it feels very Children of Men. If you've seen Roma, it feels very Roma.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, like it feels very like an Oscar level director coming in and making a movie like
Yes.
this.
There's a lot of like mid-range shots of like waist up
Yes.
or like knees up. There's a lot of these like wide. They're great shots. I think he
Yeah.
paints pictures very well, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of shots where there's so much going on from back to foreground, and you're capturing everything. It's very cool. Like you said, the first couple definitely feel like more of like a, oh look, it's magic and it's fun and it's
Right.
Bob, and it's like, and by the third one it's like your best friend's rat is a convicted felon, and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
Dude, no, that's totally right. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, if Alfonso Cuarón does not make this movie in the way that he does, the next like the later movies after this do not have the same sort of color palette, do not have the same
mhm.
visual aesthetic. Like, he sets so much for this franchise in this one movie that going forward the other ones will try and copy or emulate this, and to lesser effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he does it in such a fantastic way that the later movies are like, we need to try and try and match this aesthetic. And some of them get it right, some of them don't. I think the later
Mhm.
movies do it pretty well. I don't think Goblet does it as well, and I don't think Order of the Phoenix does it as well. But yeah, this I don't think this franchise would be as I guess iconic as it would be today if it wasn't for Alfonso Cuarón coming in and making this movie the way he did. Because
Mhm.
this is kind of like the pinnacle. This is the turning point. This is the one where I remember reading actually um, a news article, and there were rumors that this movie. So you guys have PG-13, we have M.
Mm.
The first two
Interesting.
movies in this franchise were rated PG, so like okay for kids, whatever. And then there were all these rumors about this one being M, and I'm like, oh no, I can't go see an M-rated movie. Like, I'm kind of underage. And then you come to find out that this was also rated PG for us, which is a dark PG, actually. Like, I was like, this is fucking dark. And then the next one is like rated M, like Goblet of Fire. They're like, nope, nope.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like a lot of it is like, if you think about the subject matter, it's like not super. I mean, yeah, there's some stuff with like the Death Eaters that are kind of scary, or the Dementors that are kind of scary.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like it's not like you see like a lot of violence, or she punches what's his name in the face, which is awesome. But I think there's something also interesting about like the desaturation of like the colors from the first two. Like the first two, it has that Chris Columbus like bum 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 bum, like that big, like it's very brightly lit with warm colors, and it's very like
that's
it's
what makes you think of visual style. Yeah.
Yes. And those first two feel like you're on winter break from like Thanksgiving to Christmas, and then by the third one, it's like, I feel like it's like when you go from being a kid with no worries to like, now your brain is starting to like, now you have consciousness, like, and now you're seeing things like, oh wait, that bubble, that rose tinted glasses has kind of come off. So visually, I think this one is a lot of interesting, like middle shots. And then like the colors are not quite, it's just like vibrant, and the light is not quite, it's just warm. I like it. I like that a lot.
Completely agree. And you know what, these movies were coming out kind of like in lockstep with my maturation as well. So like this came out in 2004. I was 11 years old, and I was just kind of like really hitting that point in my like childhood where I'm like, I'm ready for more mature stuff, like, you know what I mean? And by the time Goblin comes out, I'm 12, and I'm just like, oh yes, I'm ready, like to be exposed to this kind of stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like it came out in like the perfect time in my childhood as I'm growing up. But man, like I absolutely adore this movie in particular. I think that this one's pretty fantastic. I think the werewolf stuff, I think the story in this is fucking amazing, because like if you just take it out of like the Harry Potter franchise as a whole, right, you take out the Voldemort of it all, whatever, the idea that Harry's parents were betrayed by a friend, and Harry coming to believe that was Sirius when in fact it was Peter Pettigrew, who has been in their presence this entire time in hiding, is pretty outstanding. Like, I love that idea, but like not only that, in like the last sort of like 20 25 minutes, we get the idea of the time turner. Like all of that is amazing. I love the idea of the Patronus charm. I love the idea that Lupin needs to teach Harry like how to kind of like overcome his fears. There's a lot in this movie that works like thematically that I'm just like they really nailed,
No,
Also,
I agree.
Oh, go.
Oh, sorry. Go. No, go.
No. I was just going to say. Also, they needed to overcome replacing Dumbledore because Richard Harris had passed away. So they eventually got Michael Gambon, but I know that they went to Ian McKellen, and Ian McKellen was like, "Nah, bro, I'm already playing a wizard in the Lord of the Rings movies, so I'm good."
Yeah, well, and I think there's
a Christopher Lee, and they went to Christopher Lee.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. I think there's a quote from Ian McKellen where he was like, "Man, Richard Harris like hated me. Like get out of there. Sorry, my dog's trying to drink out of my cup. Get out of here." They asked Ian McKellen about that, and he was like, "Oh, Richard Harris thought I was a terrible actor. Like I wouldn't want to do that. Like I wouldn't want to step on his shoes." But I prefer Michael Gambon to Richard Harris. I mean, Gambon, I love him in Sleepy Hollow. Such a good job in the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow movie. He's a really fantastic actor.
What was in Michael Gambon? I watched Michael Gambon in something very recently, and I was like pretty blown away by him.
Dude, as a kid, I got him and Jim Broadbent confused all the time.
It's so funny because they're in both. They're in this. He's in this movie too. Oh, not this movie. Yeah.
But eventually, yeah.
All right. Let's look. We've talked about this a lot. What do you say we get into this pitch?
Yeah. I'm down.
All right. Awesome. All right. So here we are. We're zooming into Harry's room. Okay. Immediately we break the rules. I just like okay, because I mean he's not supposed to use magic outside of school, but he's using fucking Lumos to like be able to do his homework or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, all right, man, come on, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I love when he's talking to the minister and he's like, we're not gonna, what the fuck, dude? Like, yeah, of course that happens sometimes. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not that common or uncommon.
We can take this whole sort of like opening sequence as a chunk. But one of my favorite things in the books was was always how Harry was going to escape the Dursleys in the books. So like he'd always go home at the end of the year. But my favorite parts were always just like, oh, how's he going to like leave them this time? You know, like obviously in the first one it's Hagrid arriving, in the second one they get the Ford Anglia. In this one he just straight up runs away after blowing up his aunt. In the fourth one, how does he do it in the fourth one? I can't remember.
I don't even remember.
I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, man. I really love, like, you know, obviously, in the fifth one, he gets picked up by like by Moody and all them, and they go to fucking Sirius Black's house, and in the seventh
one,
in the seventh one, like he gets picked up by the Order again, but they all take like sort of like polyjuice potion, and like they kind of like have to act as decoys. I really like. I think that it's just such a good like consistent part in like all the books that they have to sort of like that he needs to escape the Dursleys in a way. Oh, sorry, I am currently reading the fourth one, so I do know the fourth one. So in the fourth one, Ron and Mr. Weasley arrive via flu powder through their fireplace.
Oh, that's right.
Which has been boarded up, so like Dursley's like boarded up, and like they're kind of like behind there, like fucking knocking and shit. And there's one awesome moment. I wish you got to see this in the books, in the movies. But Harry says, so they're going to leave through the flu powder, and Harry says goodbye to Vernon Dursley, and Vernon doesn't say anything, and then Arthur turns around and he said, "Your nephew said goodbye," and I'm just like, I wish you got to see like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but yeah. Anyway, so and then like you get to the Quidditch World Cup, and which is a fucking tragedy, by the way, that they cut that out. The World Cup. I would have liked to see it, because I will never forgive them for like announcing the World Cup. Like Fudge goes up there with like his like thing, and it's like, "Welcome to the World Cup," and then like it just like fade out, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, bro?
Yeah. Where's it at? I would love to cup the world. Why can't I see it?
That's it. But yeah, this opening scene with Aunt Marge, played by Mrs. Trunchbull from
man, yeah, we watched this last night. We literally watched Matilda last night.
Oh, did you, dude? What a banger of a movie! That's an absolute banger.
Isn't that
directed by DeVito? Yeah,
that's crazy.
But yeah, if there's something wrong with the bitch, that there's something wrong with the pup. Shut up.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're also now kind of like getting like little hints that Harry's power, or like the power that resides within Harry, which we come to later find out is a Horcrux. It's pretty wild, because Harry is flickering with the lights. He's got no wand, like he's not using his wand. Like he's just, his anger is like kind of like affecting the atmosphere around him, which is
right.
channeled by the piece of Voldemort's soul inside him, which I love. Like it's so like it's only things like that you kind of like pick up on like a rewatch. Obviously he blows up like the wine glass in Marge's hand, which looks awesome. There's a little bit of CGI here that they use, but I like that a lot of this is practical, like of like her blowing up. Looks fucking fantastic, man. Dudley taking shots to the face.
Yeah, he gets the one button and gets up and gets the second button. Yeah, and I was just like, man, this, you better hold that chin up, kid. You're going to prep school.
Hey, dude, how many TVs they got?
Oh, dude, I know. I love, again, the Matilda thing of just like fat, dumb people watching TV. Like, I love that.
That, because like after she flies off, right, which is a moment, like it's a great moment. Like, I mean, like Dursley going up and like grabbing her by the arms, and he's like,
"I'm sorry." Yeah.
And then like, you know, like that zoom out of just like Dudley at the table just still eating, and it's like TV, and it's like, what the fuck? Anyway, so like this is kind of like what we were talking about, right? Like, so like the like even Harry is starting to get more aggressive, which as me as a kid, like growing up watching these movies, like I'm kind of like, oh, Harry's changing here because he goes upstairs to his room and like kind of like fucking kicks the thing or like kicks his like wardrobe, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, damn, like this is a different kind of Harry that we're seeing here, and his voice is broken. Sorry, his voice is broken. Actually, I think his voice broke between 1 and 2. Like, you know, in Chamber of Secrets is a little whatever, but like he doesn't have that like little like childlike voice anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyway, he grabs his trunk and grabs. Does he grab Hedwig? No, he doesn't. But he takes his trunk. He goes out to this park, and this is our first sort of brush with the grim. Talk about like horror vibes, man. Like Cuaron does such a good job with with horror in this movie. Like I think like the way this like sort of carousel moves in the background, like the swings as they're going like back and forth, and you know the light flickering and the wind, and then you just see the fucking grim come out from the shrubs. Oh, so
Mm-hmm.
good, so good.
Yeah. I again, one of those like medium shots where you get everything in the shot as he walks up. I like that.
It's fantastic. But then the night bus rolls up. The night bus rolls up. Stan Shunpike, who actually in the book later is, you find out, is a fucking Death Eater. Uh,
Oh
like,
shit.
it's so crazy. But yeah, like you know, the night bus is kind of like a take it or leave it for me. I love like the idea. I love when they mess with the perspectives of stuff. So like things are when they walk inside like a house or like a tent or something, and it's bigger from the the inside than it is on
It's
the
like the
outside.
TARDIS. Yeah.
Yes, I love that kind of shit. So like again, like the visual aesthetics of this movie, everything's gray, but I always thought it was interesting in like the Harry Potter movies when they go to like Hogwarts or when they like go to Hogsmeade or whatever, it's all kind of like shabby and run down and not clean. Like, you know what I mean? Like when they're in the fucking night bus here, I'm scared to touch shit, dude. I might get tetanus.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
gonna
you
get
know?
HIV. Uh,
You know, it's a little you know, kind of. You guys got any fucking sanitary napkins or
oh,
some shit,
and
dude? Like,
the guy taking the tickets and stuff looks like he has like rickets and scurvy.
dude,
Like, what are you, a pirate? You look like
you
shit.
got a fucking wet wipe, man. You got a fucking shrunken head, like
You
giving
live in
orders.
London. It's like this. You're in one of the biggest cities in the world. You can buy it. You can buy a shower somewhere.
Like his teeth are fucked up, but that's pretty normal for British people anyway, so it's fine. But the acne,
But yeah, the
weird.
neck rash. Yeah,
The neck rash.
he looks like
and-
Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. You're like, dude,
Well-
Jesus Christ! Like,
dude. Like you guys live in a world where magic can cure eyesight and bones and shit. Like you can't just like, you know, bullshit that shit away. Like, you know, like come on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Dentum albino. Like, fucking, fix your fucking teeth.
10, 9, 8, 8.5.
Oh yeah,
Jamaican
shrunken
ass
head.
shrunken head, dude.
that honestly did make me laugh pretty good. Where I was like, it's just the mouth barely moving, and then like the guy with no eyes being the one who calls all of the stuff. I was like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The old lady like walking past. Okay, so this is where we find out about Sirius Black, right? So we get the newspaper that Stan's reading, and like Harry sees him on the front page, and he asks, "Who's that? Who is that? That is Sirius Black. That is." And he tells
Such a
him,
great first shot of Gary Oldman as well. Just the madness look. So good.
I remember seeing that shot everywhere, like in the trailers, like in TV spots, whatever. But yeah, like him just kind of like holding the I don't know what you call those things, the identifiers, like mugshot things.
Yeah.
And he's just like yelling, you know, just screaming. Like I'm just like, oh, he's so good. And obviously when we get Oldman later, like he's doing the full Oldman, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's almost like Black Ops Reznov, like like
he's what's his name in fucking Leon again?
Oh yeah, I can't remember his character's name. I honestly forgot.
Anyway, everyone.
Yeah. Oh man, I love Gary Oldman. Almost General Grievous. He was so close.
Is that right?
Yeah, apparently, I think George Lucas's thing was he didn't use SAG actors. I think, and I believe Gary Oldman's like, oh well, I can't. I'm a card carrying member. Like I can't be involved because you're doing like non-union stuff. Because I think
so George wanted to do everything pretty dodgy. Like he just like
probably,
yeah. All right, we're over the leaky cauldron. Okay, I want to talk about Tom. Tom, the hunchback that kind of like grabs his fucking shit.
Oh, Nosferatu, yeah.
Yeah, can we talk about Tom for a second? Because this is a bone I gotta pick. Tom has had probably the roughest 2 years I've ever seen in history, because we see Tom in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. When Hagrid picks Harry up, they go to fucking Diagon Alley, and they go to the leaky cauldron, and behind the bar is Tom, and he says,
he's
"Bless
like
my
tall
soul,"
and with a head full of hair.
He's fucking handsome and shit. He says, "Bless my soul" is Harry Potter. He's a fucking normal looking guy, and here's Tom from the leaky cauldron in this one.
Oh, I was making a joke. Does he really? Oh, never mind. I haven't seen him in the first one.
He is. He's a normal person in the first one, and here he is. He's basically Igor.
Yeah, I was gonna say the hump, like his ears are like he's got like Tyson Fury ears, where they're like starting to like pull out a little bit. he looks like Tyson Fury if he fought Deontay Wilder 7 or 8 times in a row.
Dude,
like holy shit.
He looks like the left testicle of the Thing. Like, it's crazy. And like even just like not just his look, but like his the way he acts, like when he grabs Harry from fucking his chest and shit, like takes him to his room. I'm just like, holy shit. Okay, Tom, what happened to you?
This guy had a severe brain injury.
Like
you said that was in the first or the second movie?
The first one. So if you would just Google it, like if you're listening to this right now, just Google it. Type in Tom the Leaky Cauldron, and it comes up like a side by side comparison. It's fucking wild. Anyway, it's just one of those like aesthetic changes. I'm just like, what happened here? What was the reasoning behind this? They just forget that they have introduced Tom. Anyway, he's not a big character in the books or anything, but whatever. So he meets the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge, and Fudge tells Harry, well, actually, in the book, I remember Harry is very, very afraid to meet Fudge here because of what he did to his aunt, right? Like, he thinks he's about to get expelled. But Fudge says, look, we don't send people to Azkaban for blowing up their aunts. He says, we were able to deflate her somewhere outside of Sheffield. She's all good. Whatever, and her memory's been modified. And then he tells him about Sirius Black, and he's like, what do you know about Black? And Harry says, just that he's dangerous, whatever. And yeah, basically the Minister is kind of keeping an eye on Harry. Like that's kind of like all you really need to know about this. Like he's kind of got all his books. He's got Hedwig here, and they show him to his room. We kind of like get this like little scene with like one of Harry's new books, the Monster Book of Monsters, which we find out is the Care of Magical Creatures textbook for the year, set by Hagrid of all people. This is I don't know, like I don't know how they do. Like this looks practical. Like it has to be practical. It looks fantastic.
Oh, the book, yeah. The 4 eyes on the front and like the teeth, yeah, it looks great. Honestly, yeah, I do like the practical effects a lot in this because some of the digital ones like aren't the best. It's 04, right. It's 20 years ago. I'm not going to nitpick it too much, but the practical stuff looks really good, and I like the way that this one looks. Where it looks like furry, but like pointy, and I don't know. It just conjures up a lot of like feelings when you see that book.
Absolutely. See, this is like one of the little touches that I like, just like housekeeping, and the fucking she opens, like the door opens, and like the housekeeper's just like, I'll come back later. Like I don't know, we don't need it, but it's good, like sort of like world building.
Yeah. Whatever that monster is.
Right. So Harry reconnects with Ron and Hermione for the first time. They're arguing about Crookshanks, her cat, going after and chasing Scabbers, which we come to later find out is Peter Pettigrew, right? So like we're kind of like seeding things very slowly, very subtly. But I guess like the crux of the scene here is this conversation between Arthur Weasley and Harry, right? So, what do you know about Mr. Who? Sorry, what do you know about Sirius Black? And he tells him about Sirius Black being a supporter of Who, and now he's escaped from Azkaban to find him and kill him. And he says, "Promise me you won't go looking for Sirius Black." And he says, "Why would I want to go find someone who wants to kill me?" Right? Um, it's so funny because Steph and I were watching these movies, and Harry is so like sort of like main character energy. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just like it's all about him,
Yeah, he knows.
It's so funny because like something happens to Ron and Hermione or whatever. Harry's just probably like, "Oh yeah, but my parents died." It's like, fuck off, dude. you know?
He's like, "Come on, flash me your tits," and she's like, "No." He's like, "It's my birthday and my parents are dead. Like, come on, dude."
My parents are dead. Yeah, that's exactly it, dude. Right. So they jump on the Hogwarts Express, platform 9 3/4. We like a little moment here of like Molly Weasley giving Ron Scabbers, and she says, "Don't lose him." Right. So like we are getting like little moments with like the importance of Scabbers, and like obviously he comes to play a big part. But I just thought it was interesting. So they find this compartment, and Lupin's just kind of like in the corner, just sort of like all rugged up. Lupin, one of my favorite characters in this entire movie, dude. One of my favorite characters in this entire series. David Thewlis is amazing.
Yeah, he's the guy with the cleft asshole in Big Lebowski.
That's right.
He's like, "So you're Maud's friend?" He's like, "Yeah." I love the dude's like, "What the fuck is wrong with this man?"
Dude, he is the antagonist in Fargo season 3, and he is incredible, like amazing. David Thewlis. But yeah, he's kind of like he's asked to play a werewolf in this one, and look, I know you're a big fan of werewolves. We can talk about that a bit later, but like we can talk about like the design and all that stuff a little later. But they kind of like start to talk about Sirius Black. I just love like who do you think that is? Oh, Professor R.J. Lupin. You know everything. How is it? How did she know it? It's on his suitcase, bro.
Yeah.
All right, man. And then we kind of like really get like the Dementors. This probably visually in any Harry Potter movie is my favorite scene ever. Like I think this is
coming into the train car and stuff.
Yes, I think the stopping the train on the bridge, getting the sort of like exterior shot of the lights just like kind of like flickering on the train. This is some real horror shit, dude. Like Ron's hand on the window, like like the ice just like freezing over the glass, and you kind of like get it over the bottle as well. And then like they kind of like look to the right, and like there it is. I love that you see like the tattered cape first, and like it's just kind of like hovering, and then you just see the arm kind of like reach over the door. One thing I really, really don't love about the later movies, Order of the Phoenix and onward, is they kind of make the Dementors look a little less bulky, or like they make them look a little less frightening. They kind of look a little, obviously the Dementors, right? So they look frightening, but like they make them look a little less intimidating. As opposed to this one, like your first introduction with this one, it's just like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, the very it just feels like there's just this black fog that rolls through every time they're around. Grim Reaper
energy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so I'm reading about they replaced Tom between the two movies. They replaced the actor like totally. I don't know what happened. Only appeared in one film afterwards before passing away in 2014 from complications with diabetes. So the first guy, I guess, just never came back, and they instructed him to play the role like Igor from Young Frankenstein. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So the Dementor comes in and immediately just starts going for Harry, right? Like he's trying to this is called the Dementor's kiss, going for the soul. One of my favorite little touches is like as the Dementor enters the compartment, Scabbers like hisses at the Dementor, and you kind of like wonder, like as you're watching it the first time, you can just be like, oh, like it's demonic presence, right? So of course. But then you're just like, hold up, like you start to catch like little things that are just like, oh, okay, you'd understand why Peter Pettigrew would want to avoid Dementors. They're basically like the cops of Azkaban.
I do have a question, and not to jump too far ahead because we're kind of here, but like when we see Lupin stand up to like the Dementor, do you notice like his face and stuff? You don't want to talk. You don't know about Dimension. Have you noticed this?
Do I notice his scratches and stuff?
Yeah, like I did not notice that when I watched this the first time earlier today. Not for the first time. I just haven't seen it in a long time. But I saw the scratches and I was like, oh yeah. And the next time we see him, they're gone because he's just healed. Obviously, he's a werewolf now, so he heals faster. But I was like, oh, that's right. He must have just gotten attacked. He just hasn't had time to deal with it yet, or maybe he got into a dogfight or something. I don't know. But I did not catch that earlier today watching this.
It happens in this moment, and it happens in another moment as well, where he has sort of fresh scratches. After when Snape sort of like takes the Defense Against the Dark Arts class, and he's like, turn to page 394, whatever. When we see Harry kind of like in sort of like the hallway looking for Peter Pettigrew on his map, and he comes across like Snape, and then he comes across Lupin. Lupin's got fresh scratches. And he's just like, remember when Snape's just like, whoa, out for a little walk in the moonlight? Like that's he's just had his transformation.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, I didn't put two and two together.
But it's a cool touch, dude. Like it's a cool little, like subtle, like oh shit,
No, yeah, I dig it.
So Harry kind of like faints, and he comes to. He hears his mother screaming before he passes out. And then you kind of like get like you get Lupin like telling them exactly what it was, right? Like it was a Dementor, one of the guards of Azkaban prison. I love that he gives them like chocolate. I love that we never really find out the reason why chocolate helps, but other than maybe just kind of like get your blood sugar up. You know what I mean?
Right, and it coming from a dog, that's like obviously dogs can't have. It's like I won't be needing this. You go right ahead.
That's a nice touch. I didn't even notice that. That's a nice touch.
Lupin puts his ankle behind his ear and starts licking his balls. They're like, all right, dude, Jesus Christ, get out of here,
sir. Are you a werewolf?
Yeah, he's doing it, but he's looking up like, you like it? You interested? And they're like, all right, get out of here, dude.
Hey, can you sniff this for me, Ron?
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's just kind of who Ron is to me.
Dude. Okay, so I'm gonna say this, and probably controversial. I'm not talking about outside of these movies. I'm talking about inside of these movies. Emma Watson's the best of the three, right?
I would say definitely like up there. I think Daniel Radcliffe gets better as they go along. Like for a child actor, he's got a lot of like range to have to play with. I think that she really excels in playing Hermione, but I feel like as Hermione, there's less screen time, and B, they don't dive into her as much. So I feel like she can kind of play a character that's not as three-dimensional as Daniel Radcliffe does. Like I think given it, like I think she knocks out what she does very well, but I feel like Daniel Radcliffe has a little bit more on his shoulders at times. And when it comes to those like really, really big moments, like in the subtle moments, it's kind of hard to read him as an actor. And I'm like, I can't really tell what you're trying to give me here sometimes. But then when it comes to like the big stuff, like he's out and about and he shows up. So I think I prefer him, but she definitely seems like she would be the most professional one on set for how old she is. Like she seems like she would be one of those like a real Hermione, like learn your fucking lines, Daniel. Like she seems like she'd really be like that.
Like I don't know, man, like especially the fourth one when she's kind of like given like a little bit of like, because she needs to show emotion in the fourth one, like when the sort of like romance between Ron and Hermione is sort of like simmering, right? And she's kind of like dating Victor Crumb. They go to the Yule Ball, and then like Ron kind of like gets into the big argument with Hermione, and she's kind of like she's on that shot with the steps when she's on the steps, and
Yes.
she's kind of like on her knees, just crying, and then she's like she just yells at both of them. I don't know. I feel like her performance in these movies is just so much more genuine, and I'm not saying it to disparage Daniel Radcliffe's performance at all. It might just be because I'm a little more attracted to supporting characters than I am primary characters, but you know,
yeah, no, I agree with like I said, I think she plays Hermione really well, but I'm not sure if the shoe was on the other foot. Like, I like the moments that they give her as Hermione, but I feel like a lot of the time she is just kind of the foil, the wet blanket on a lot of like their escapades. But that's just the way the character is. And I would love to see her kind of like expand like that. Because especially when they start getting into her having like Muggle parents and shit, I was like, that's interesting. I like that. And it's nice to see Hermione not be 100% confident and clear-headed and going into a situation. She's kind of embarrassed, and she's kind of like, oh yeah, fuck. Like for her to see her not have all the answers to stuff, I like that. I like those moments in Hermione where she's kind of like, I can't just read a book my way out of this one. Right. You know, like there's actual shit you have to think about. Like I dig it. I just wish they did that more with her.
Yes, definitely. And then, like there are moments in the book where that definitely happens. And I'm wondering if like whether when the series rolls around that kind of like fleshes that out a bit more. The casting those three characters is going to be really tough for that show.
Yeah. I think their best bet is total unknowns. Like you just get total, like Finn Wolfhard is Harry Potter. Like fuck me, dude. No, Jesus Christ. Like nice dude. Yes. Fuck, I'm tired of seeing him. Like
yes. The best case scenario is unknowns for the leads, and then you kind of like pack it out with more sort of like star power.
That's what they that's what they did for these. Robbie Coltrane, exactly. Maggie Smith. Yeah, what they did for the MCU. Like please, please do that.
For sure. And then we get our introduction to Dumbledore, dude. Our new Dumbledore. What an entrance, right? So he announces firstly that Professor R.J. Lupin is going to be taking Defense Against the Dark Arts this year. He announces that Hagrid is going to be taking care of magical creatures this year. And then he talks about the presence of the Dementors, right? Like, so the Dementors are here to keep a watchful eye over us and to prevent, Sirius Black, whatever. But I love like this little speech that he's got. Like he's like, Dementors are disgusting. Basically he says like Dementors are disgusting creatures, vile, whatever. But happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one remembers to turn on the light. I love that stuff that he does with the candle. It's good stuff. Like all of this is fantastic. Even just the way it's shot, like you said, like the mid shots, like it's not like super close up or super out. Like it's very fantastically shot. One of my also major gripes with these movies, and I know exactly why you can't do it, is at the end of every book is like who wins the house cup. So like how like everyone gets like points. So like 5 points from Gryffindor, 5 points from sort of like whatever. Right. They completely dropped that notion. I think after like the second movie, like you don't really hear about that shit again. And like that's just what background. Yeah. But I love like those memes. There's so many memes out there of just like Dumbledore will do whatever it takes for Gryffindor to win. It's it's so good,
Slytherin's dude. Like, we came up with a cure for cancer. He's like 10 points to Slytherin, and then they're like, we burned down this bridge and killed a robot snake. They're like 1,000 points to Gryffindor. Like it's always shit like that.
It's so good, dude. I think what is it in the first one when he's just like, and 5 points to Hermione Granger, and 5 points to Ron Weasley for moral fiber. No, Neville. 5 points to Neville Longbottom for showing moral fiber. And it's like, what?
Yeah, it's a made-up thing from like the 30s.
Dude, he just like walked up to them in the common room and then he got fucking petrified. Like, I don't know how that's moral fiber, but whatever. Sure.
Cool.
Now you're grading these, but no worries. All right, man. The portrait of the fat lady is another thing that they've changed in this movie. So in the first one, you got it was like a more regal version of the fat lady who was just like password, and then like in this one, it's just kind of like a
Yeah. She's an
basically
older lady
fucking
in the first ones, I think.
yeah, definitely. And in this one, it's just like Melissa McCarthy, basically. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
I guess she's just like I don't know. She's a bit more comedic. She's a bit more chill. She's trying to like break this break this glass by singing a falsetto. I always thought that was funny, like when she smashes it against the background. But it's like you're a painting. How is there a background in your painting? I don't understand.
Right. Yeah. Don't you live in that? Now you live on broken glass. There's not a trash can in there. Not like you have a dump. You can get rid of that stuff. Now you have to live with it.
Well, we did see that like they can kind of like go between paintings, so it's like, can they like fuck each other in these paintings? Can like she go over to like
there's one in one painting and all you can see is the thrust, and then in the other painting it's just somebody like getting like clacked up like the that's fucking funny,
dude. The whole frame's just shaking.
Yeah,
it's just like
the kids. Wow, we can't get these kids to go to their classes, and they're just all like sitting on the staircase getting moved around.
So one character that they cut out of this book is a character named Cadogan or Cadogan, Cadogan. He's a painting, and you see him very, very briefly in this moment when they're trying to get into the into the Gryffindor common room. You kind of like see him in the background. He's like Hark in the background. He plays a big part in the books. I can't remember to what effect though, so you're gonna have to figure that out to yourself. But yeah, like he just kind of like pops up, I guess, like a little cameo. Yeah. Anyway, Fortuna Major, like they get in. I like these little moments between the Gryffindor sort of guys, like when they're in the common room, when they're in the sort of like bedroom. They're taking like the sweets and they're like doing all the animal noises and stuff, and you know, like
pillow
little
fights
shit like
and stuff.
that. Yeah, pillow fights. Banging each other, whatever. It's it is what it is. Well, I guess they're kids. I can't really make that kind of joke, but whatever. I made it. Sue me.
I mean, come on, you got these kids locked up here all Christmas and stuff. Wingardium Leviosa is going on left and right. Somebody's getting diddled.
It's lonely, dude.
Well, when we were watching this, I was just like, I wonder what like the teen pregnancy rate is at Hogwarts. And Lindsay's like, they're separated. And I was like, that's not going to stop anything. Like, if I had magic and an erection, like, I'm fucking finding a way to get to that person if they're consenting. You know, as long as they're consenting, like, I'm getting there. Like, you're not going to stop me. Fucking turn into the Silver Surfer and just start going through walls. Like Kitty Pryde that shit. Yeah.
Don't get me started, man. Like, because Kumail Nanjiani has a great stand-up bit where he talks about like, okay, so like they're teaching like Defense Against the Dark Arts and history of like magic, but like, what about math? You know, like what?
Yeah.
Like they can fight Voldemort, but they can't do fucking their times tables. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, they don't know like the order of the planets.
Right. Multiple times in this movie we get this sort of like transition moment. We always see the Whomping Willow, which is obviously the tree. But like this bird that kind of like it makes its way around the grounds. In this like really sort of like what you think is a very sweet moment, and then like the Whomping Willow just like see ya. You know, just absolutely fucking blows it apart. And we also get a shot of the Dementors just like, you know, ominously looming outside the castle too, which is wild. We're introduced to Professor Trelawney, which, by the way, dude, got me thinking about this cast. Like, here we are with Emma Thomas. Like, you know what I mean? Like Emma Thompson. Sorry, Emma Thomas is Christopher Nolan's fucking wife.
Yeah, I just saved you an email.
Sorry. Thank you so much. Don't at me.
Because she's a woman, Emma Thompson.
Oh, whatever. She's a woman. Probably got paid less than everyone else. No, but what I'm saying is like Emma Thompson is a legend essentially, and here she is to play a sort of like a, I guess what can be considered a bit part, right?
Yeah, especially like with all the shit that like, I mean, I think Emma Thompson's one of the best probably top 50 actors of the last 100 years. I think she's incredible.
Yep.
But not only that,
I'd even like go out and say she's probably top 20, man. She's incredible. She's amazing.
She is very, very fucking good. I just, I hedged my bet a little bit. I would say at least top 35. But the interesting thing was she was married to Kenneth Branagh for a long time, Gilderoy Lockhart. And then I guess Kenneth Branagh goes to make Frankenstein in the 90s with Robert De Niro. And I guess because that's got Helena Bonham Carter in it as well. I guess he starts banging Helena Bonham Carter. And that's just that, all of a sudden, like, I almost called her Frances McDonald. Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson ends up. Yeah, McDonald, McDormand, both of us.
Both of us fucked up the last names of probably two actresses who are in the top 250 of all time.
Yeah. I was like Frances McDormand, Frances McDonald. But yeah, because Emma Thompson talked about it. She's like, it was a little weird on set when it was like me, because I think in the second one, she's in the second one, isn't she? Or is she only in this one?
No, she's in this one, and she's in she's definitely in the fifth one because Professor Umbridge kicks her out, and Dumbledore's like, "You don't have the authority to banish her from the grounds, so whatever."
Right? Yeah, I remember her.
She's in the last one too, I think.
She said something about working. She's like, I mean, it's a little weird. You're working with Helena Bonham Carter, the guy who like stole your husband away, basically. It's like, so it was a little awkward. She's like, but it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was 1995, I think.
Yeah. We were very young children.
All right, so this is kind of like this is divination, dude. And I remember when I was like reading about this, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Well, I not to interrupt you immediately, but the thing I love is that in the Lon Chaney Wolfman, that's how she actually reads his tea leaves. Lon Chaney, like the whole black and white universal Wolfman.
Cool.
So as a guy who just thinks werewolves are cool, like I was like, that's cool. I like that a lot. I love the Wolfman movie.
Yeah, that's sick. Oh, real quick, what did you think about the Wolfman trailer?
Oh yeah, that looks dope, man.
That's fucking awesome, right?
That is
Lee Whannell.
Thank you, Lee Whannell. Is Ryan Reynolds still attached to that, or are they nah?
No, they replaced him.
Okay, I figured.
But, which maybe might be for the better, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to see Logan Marshall Green in that shit, dude. I wouldn't mind seeing him work with Lee Whannell again at all. But yeah, it looks good. It looks really good.
Looks awesome.
Definitely looks a lot better than the werewolf in this movie. We'll get to that, but
yeah, I've also got thoughts. So yeah, like we get the tea leaves with the Grimm. I love that Hermione just straight up thinks that this class is bullshit, and like we get the first moment of her kind of like rocking up and like Ron just being like, when the fuck did you get here? Like, which we obviously later find out to be the magic of the time turner. But yeah, like this is dude. Okay, so this guy who not the Grin, the idiot, the Grimm. So this little black kid, he gets to cook in this movie. He gets 2 lines in this movie, and he fucking cooks. Like, he's just like, it takes the shape of a giant spectral dog. It's the omen of death. And it's just like, oh fuck, all right, damn.
Okay, who are you?
Thanks for coming in for these lines, dude. And he's never seen again after this movie. Like, it's crazy. He gets to cook one more time in this movie, and his line in his second scene is like, fire, dude. Like, it's just okay. Just sure, give him a raise. It's where the Care of Magical Creatures class, lesson 1. How do we open the books? Strike the spine, strike my dick, whatever. And then we kind of like
there's the guy you have to stroke it. I was like, come on. Like you can somebody ADR'd that on purpose. They did. I won't hear anything else.
Wait until my father hears about this. Malfoy. My favorite meme is when Malfoy says Potter, and it's just like the black guy being like, Potter.
Yeah. His lips are like tucked in, like his cheeks are real swollen. I love seeing him die in Planet of the Apes. Tom Felton.
He's got oh my god, he's got the best. Well, like that's the first moment of Caesar speaking when he's like, no.
Yeah, I like him a lot in that first one. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as Malfoy again, but I think he's had a very good like post Harry Potter success with like I think he's done like some theater and some smaller roles and stuff like that. But I think he's a lot of these kids. Thank God they turned out halfway normal as they did. You know, probably because it's British and not American. Honestly, but I bet you the British were probably way more strict about shit on set.
And some actual like support for the child actors instead of just like here's some crack.
Yes, yeah. Chris Columbus is like, we used to just give Macaulay Culkin a hit of speed and chain him to a radiator, but you kids, I mean, you got it made. You get a bed and a sleeve of crackers, you know, and like that's basically it.
All right, so we're introduced to Buckbeak the hippogriff, and
love it,
dude. I love it. Love the design. I love the entire cohort taking one step back for volunteers, and like Harry's just left there. Dude, Ron pushing Harry forward is the best. Is the best moment. And then like he jumps on. Like I think he might let you ride him now. So like he fucking rides him. He's like, don't pull any of his feathers out. He won't thank you for that. Hagrid slaps his ass and off he goes. Okay, so let's talk score, right? Because the score for these movies is fantastic. Because John Williams, it's John Williams in this movie as well. However, like we all know the theme, the Harry Potter theme, right? The dun 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 dun. Like I mean, like that's incredible. Like that is iconic. Everyone knows it immediately. This score here, it's called Buckbeak's Flight, is amazing. The violins, the na 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 na, like, it's so good, so fantastic. This is up there. I can't choose between this and in the final movie, or I think it's part 1. It's called Lily's theme. Lily's theme is the one that plays when you find out about Snape's sort of like backstory. That he's been trying to protect Harry the whole time, that he was in fact in love with Lily. I think that's just as beautiful. So like I think the score in these movies is pretty fantastic, but I think this is where it really peaks for me. Like this is like, holy shit, dude. This is such a good moment.
I didn't know it was John Williams. I thought it was James Horton for a minute.
Nope. John Williams, baby. Like,
oh no, never mind. We watched Payback yesterday, the Mel Gibson movie. Payback, Rene Russo. I love that movie. I forgot about it. It's free on YouTube, by the way. But yeah, that's James Horner. That's why I got confused.
Nice. Malfoy gets attacked by Buckbeak, right? In a very satisfying moment. Oh, it's killed me. It's killed me.
God. If only it had aimed a little higher, it could have cut the head off of Hitler's wet dream. Dude, this fucking kid. Like, good God.
Can you imagine? Just fucking swipes at his face. Oof.
He's such a good villain.
One of my favorite shots is kind of like right here. It's sort of like this transitional moment where we see the Dementors just like flying around, whatever, and like you get that really close up shot of like the plant just freezing over. And it's like, ooh, man, so good. They make the cape look so good, like the tatters. It's fantastic. And then probably one of my favorite scenes in this entire movie with the boggart, right? Like the Defense Against the Dark Arts moment. This is so good. Like the staging of this is fantastic because like you could just show this as like a normal sort of like classroom scene, but no, let's have this be fun. Let's have him put on like this vinyl. Let's have him put on this music, and like you know, this is a great sort of like moment to like break up the seriousness of this movie so far and like have it be so entertaining until we get to Harry. And when we get to Harry, it's so beautiful. The shot on Lupin's face as he like probably realizes that it's about to be Voldemort when instead it's a Dementor. And, you know, Lupin jumping in front of Harry being like, here! And then like he kind of like holds out his arms. And then it changes into a full moon. And it's amazing. It's outstanding. And you're just like, why is it a full moon? Like, why is he afraid of a full moon? It tells you so much about Lupin as a character. Yeah. What do you think about this scene, dude? Like, I thought this is pretty amazing. Like, not just the Lupin part, but like this the boggart in general. Like them all attacking the boggart.
No, I like it because it's been some pretty cool. Like we have like the everything's been kind of serious, but then we have him flying with the hippogriff. What's his name?
Buckbeak.
Slim Jim, Snapjack, Buckbeak.
Oh,
we
shit.
have this like moment of one of the only moments Harry will have to himself in the whole movie is him riding this thing over the lake of Lake Hogwarts or whatever, and then immediately it's kind of a down peak because Malfoy gets bit and it's going to make Hagrid look bad and blah blah blah. So we've got to juxtapose it with again another kind of upbeat scene of okay, we're having fun and this jazz music is playing, and then so it's still a hippogriff. It just turns into a Dementor, and from what I understand. Or not a hippogriff. It's still a boggart. Thank you. I was going to say Jabberwocky. It's still a boggart, and the boggart can do whatever it shapeshifts off. Like it has the abilities. Like it could very well start killing Harry, like right there. Mm-hmm. Well, I told Lindsay, like, part of me does feel bad because it's like this thing's total existence is based on fear. Like, what kind of evolution, what kind of trait is that? It
can't be good for its self-esteem, right?
No, yeah, it's constantly being changed into it's like my mom was a fat lunch lady who molested me, and it turns into some lady with a hairnet, and it's like God, it's like constantly I'm afraid of turtles, and just random shit this thing has to morph into all the time. But yeah, I like it a lot. And I like you kind of see what kind of character is Lupin for stepping in front of a Dementor. I think that's really cool. I think they did a really good job of kind of showing that he's a popular teacher, a well-liked teacher. I like the color. I like the lighting, the saturation in this. And because after it, it's right back to that drained gray kind of color, which is very much so like as the Dementor is like pulling your soul out of your body, that gray kind of drained look is very like prominent in the film.
Absolutely. One other thing I wanted to bring up was this moment with Neville, which I think is fantastic, right? Like Neville kind of like has to confront the boggart first, and he's just like, she carries a red handbag. And he's like, nope, like I love how gentle Lupin also is with the students too. Like he's just like as long as you'll see it, we'll see it. Like and we haven't talked about Alan Rickman yet. I mean, probably the MVP of this entire series is Alan Rickman. Like, he's the only one.
It's crazy how little he is in this. I was like, whoa, dude, he's in this movie for like 5 minutes. Yeah, I thought it was way more.
This is not a showcase for him. Like, he's only in this for a little bit. But, I mean, like, I think he's got a major moment in the end. But him playing the boggart must have been so good, dude. Like, can you imagine? Like, he's asked to play Snape, but like here he is, like, like now asked to play this like confused sort of like version of like Snape. It's just like what the fuck.
Well, yeah, and there is a part of me that's like I hate that Alan Rickman's gone, but thank God that like. Thank God that like he didn't live to see kind of like because he was a big fan of the books, and like he told there's that famous quote of his where he's like, I would be 80 reading these in my study and my kids would ask like, are you still reading these? And he would say always. And I'm like, and I mean, because now like I'm not glad he's gone, but I'm glad he's not alive to see what has kind of like gone on and how Harry Potter's kind of like fallen out a little bit with people, not the main populace, but there's definitely a lot more people complaining about it than there was when he was alive. Snape like, is like such a great character.
Definitely. It's just now easier to discover discourse about like fandom, about things, right? I mean, like Star Wars is going down like the discourse around Star Wars right now is absolutely wild. And the only reason like we know about it right now is because of social media and because of, because news reaches us a different way. Whereas like back then, I mean, like I think, like you have consensus, right? Like people either loved it or hated it, like you didn't really find out about discourse, But I do want to say I've like Rickman in these movies is incredible. I mean, like, like that's been said and done. I love that he knew about Snape's twist well before everyone else did. He kind of like knew it from the first movie, I believe. I think J.K. Rowling actually like told him like this is what's going to happen with your character. And that's
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he kind of like kept it under wraps for the longest time. And he was just like, and like that's kind of like how he played it. Like he kind of played it a little bit like, I'm going to be antagonistic towards Harry, but at the same time, like I'm going to have a soft spot for him because of his mother. Yeah, I don't know. I really, really adore that piece of information, like that he has, that he knew that he like that this was the way this character was going to go. All right. Anyway, so we get this moment here on this like sort of bridge. We come back to this bridge a lot, by the way. Like, there's sort of like one bridge that connects the grounds to the castle. Where like we get a scene with this bridge in Goblet of Fire. This is the one that blows up in Deathly Hallows. But like this is kind of like how we find out about Lupin's connection to Harry's father. Like like they were friends. Like he kind of like had a penchant for getting into trouble. And we also find out that Harry can't go to Hogsmeade, right? Because the Dursleys have not signed his sort of like release form, which is a bit fucking slack. I mean, surely you can get a Guardian, but whatever the fuck. I guess Guardians don't exist in this world. But actually, the Dursleys are the Guardian. So
right.
Yeah. All right. So we kind of come back to the portrait of the fat lady, and this is where she kind of like all hell breaks loose, right? Because the fat lady's not there anymore. Instead, it's been replaced by 3 slashes and a damaged portrait. And the fat lady, she's gone. By the way, never liked Ginny. Never liked the idea of Harry with Ginny. Sorry, don't like it. Is what it is, but
yeah. What was the one? Luna Lovegood. Is that the one? The creepy one? Yeah.
The weird one. Yeah. All right, and this is when we find the fat lady. Do you fucking love Percy just being like, "I'm head boy"? Fuck off, dude.
Yeah. Get out of the way. I'm head boy.
You're a dick, Percy. Pretty sure Percy ends up working for the Ministry, and he kind of ends up being a fucking weirdo. But I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What? he made a magical clone of himself, and they both just laid on top of each other for 5 hours. That's all they would ever do. It was weird. It'd be less weird if he just had sex with it, but he just laid there
with an anti-drip tray. He made it with a clone with a fucking drip tray and shit. Like, yeah,
it's like that Always Sunny where Dennis fucks himself.
Oh my god, dude!
I'm God. It's so good.
Because of the implication.
Yeah.
So, dear lady, who did this to you? Eyes like the devil he's got. It's so good. And then, yeah, of course, Sirius Black, he's here roaming about the castle. And after this, dude, we get an awesome sequence of them locking down the castle. The way they shoot this door with the locks coming out, dude. We like the music that's playing, the John Williams score. We even like hear a werewolf in the background, or like a wolf, or whatever it is. You just hear it howling, and you see the Dementors just kind of like, I don't know if that is Lupin. I don't know if he's been accounted for. Like, you don't really see him in this sort of sequence. But like you get like this shot of like the Dementors just closing in on the castle. Like the students are having to sleep in the Great Hall. Snape informs Dumbledore that the castle's been locked down, and he kind of like admires Black. He's like, remarkable feat, don't you think? To sneak into the castle undetected. And he's like, well, I didn't. Dumbledore's like, I didn't really expect him to linger.
Yeah.
And, Harry's awake, and he's just like overhears this conversation, and pretty much he's like, well, like, should we tell him, right? Like, there's this conversation about like, oh, like, should he be warned? And it's a great little like piece of mystery.
Well, and it's got to be something that as Harry, like your Luke Skywalker, your Frodo, your Harry Potter,
you're the
so much of your life. Yes, and your life has been predetermined by groups of several people who have made these decisions of how your life is going to go. And it's kind of like, I think there are moments like that in the book or the movie where Harry's kind of like, it seems like everybody just knows what I'm going to do with my life before I even do it. Like,
yes,
he's being made to jump through a lot of hoops. And it's like, yeah, that does have to get old after a while.
It's the Dune
of
thing.
like
it's the Paul Atreides. Like, I know you're not too familiar with Dune, but like,
it's
the Paul Atreides. Like, you were born for a specific purpose, and you need to follow a particular path in order for that purpose to be fulfilled. But like, yeah, what they don't account for is that own person's agency, right? Like what that own person wants to do or wants to achieve, and how they want to go about it.
Right.
Sorry to cut you off. Do you have more to say?
No.
Okay.
No, that's basically it. Just like, that's got to get old.
Yeah. All right. So we kind of like we get two sort of like little sequences here. So the first one I want to talk about is the Defense Against the Dark Arts sequence with Snape, right? Like him just kind of like I love his presence as he walks in. He just closes the windows, like the shutters on the windows. He taps on the projector and he's like, turn to page 394. Ron's like, werewolves, like, we're supposed to start like red caps and hinky pucks. We're not supposed to start werewolves for ages. And Snape essentially brings up like this lesson, right? And he's just like, he talks about like, can you tell me the difference between an animagus and a werewolf, right? Hermione obviously answers this because she answers everything. She says, an animagus is a wizard who elects to turn into an animal, whereas a werewolf has no choice. He'd kill his best friend if he had to. I love this like artwork of like, Da Vinci's like Vitruvian Man, which is kind of like and it's the werewolf. Like, that's so cool. That's so sick. But yeah, and then we kind of like got we get this moment between Malfoy like kind of like blows this sort of like origami over to Harry, and it's just like this like etching of like Quidditch, right? And I love that we transition from the cartoon directly over to Quidditch. It's so good, like the way that fades in.
How the hell do you see anything in the middle of like, that's fucking crazy.
Dude.
Like, how in God's name do you see the what do they call the thing? The Sphinx? What is it called?
The gold.
What? The Fitch?
The golden snitch.
Snitch. There we go. Yeah.
And not to be confused with the golden snatch.
Yeah. That's a place in downtown Nashville. The Golden Snitch, like, for one thing, how the fuck could you see anything? But like, they do put the kids' lives in like an inordinate amount of danger that's totally unnecessary.
So
like
crazy.
They wouldn't let us swim in the public pool if it started to like lightning. And these kids are playing into like a level 2 like they're going up and breaking atmospheric pressure and shit. And it's like, dude, this is crazy. And it's like, but then he's like, and report to me on 2 pages on the werewolf. Like, it's so fucking ridiculous. One of my favorite, I know I always talk about King of the Hill. There's a great King of the Hill episode where Hank starts selling propane to a Renaissance fair, and the guy who owns the fair is Alan Rickman, but he's a Texas guy. So he's like, "How now, gas man?" And he has like a British accent. And at the end of the episode, he goes, "Oh shit, I'm gonna lose my fair," and it's like a totally redneck.
Holy.
The guy's been faking it the whole time. If you ever watch, that is a fantastic episode of King of the Hill. It's Alan Rickman. It's fucking great.
God, man, Rickman, he died too young, dude. Like, I
know, yeah.
Him having his first film role in Die Hard, right, as Hans Gruber, and then like one of my favorite movies of him is a movie starring him is fucking Galaxy Quest, dude. Holy shit, is he good in Galaxy Quest? But yeah, like I completely agree. Like, this is so fucking Quidditch is so dangerous. I don't think it happens like this in the book. I don't think that this is the kind of weather fucking like we're not fucking playing this game in like a category 6 hurricane, whatever the fuck.
Right. And there's Dementors and a convicted felon and murderer around.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Like, but what about football? Like, Jesus Christ. If this was Friday Night Lights, dude, people would never hear the end of it because it's Harry Potter at school.
We need to win the league.
Yeah, what about the big game?
Yeah, so one of my other gripes is like that Quidditch gets minimized as the movies go on, right? So like we eventually stop Quidditch altogether, like as we start to like move forward, and I don't like that because I think Quidditch is amazing. I like the idea of it. I like the way it's shot. I love the way that it's kind of like presented. I like the way that like in each movie and each book, like Harry has to deal with like a certain thing that happens in the Quidditch match. So like obviously in the second one, there's the rogue bludger, like the fucking one bludger that just keeps chasing him, which is fucking awesome. You know, like yeah, but then it kind of like comes down to like one of those things. And I talked about this in a YouTube video that I uploaded recently. I did this to TikTok as well, where I ranked the Harry Potter films. And one thing that comes up, especially in the fourth movie, right, the Triwizard Tournament, when you have an audience sitting in a stationary position and the competitors need to move around like out of your field of view, what are the spectators watching? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the Triwizard Tournament, when Harry when the dragon chases him to the castle, what the fuck are the spectators doing?
They're all just like
right. And when they go to the bottom of the lake,
around.
What like you're not going to set up some monitors or like a TV, like a little bit of
there's not something like
a you know? And then like when we're at the maze, what are we doing? We can't see him. We can't see over him. We're not in an elevated position.
Are you talking about Goblet? Is that Goblet of Fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love watching esports, like any kind of competitive gaming, and there's always a screen going on that can tell you something that's happening. But yeah, you've got like 30,000 people sitting in some crowds and bleachers that were made when there was still a king in England, and it's like, these people are probably bored as shit, hoping this stuff doesn't collapse in on them.
Absolutely. All right, so Harry gets de-broomed. Oh, dude, by the way, I love that there's like the way we open this scene is we see like a black umbrella flying around. It's just like an awesome kind of like visual thing because like when Harry's chasing the snitch, and you see the umbrella and then you just see a flash of black and it's the Dementor. And it's like, oh shit, it's not the fucking umbrella, it's the Dementor. And it's like, holy shit. It's cool. It's a cool little sort of red herring. So so Dumbledore saves Harry, Arresto Momentum. He finds out that his Nimbus 2000 smashed into the Whomping Willow. It's exactly what happens in the book. Also in the book, Sirius Black sends Harry the firebolt somewhere in the middle of the movie. It's kind of like from an anonymous donor.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yes, it's from an anonymous donor, and I remember the staff at Hogwarts need to check it out. Like need to like security check it out. And like I remember that,
make sure it's not like cursed.
Yes. And I remember that like kind of like disadvantaging the Gryffindor Quidditch team because Harry's not able to use his broom. I remember that. Like that was like anyway, so we get this scene with Lupin. Harry is curious why the Dementors affect him so. And Lupin says it's because you've seen true horrors in your life that your friends can scarcely imagine. And Harry's like, well, you made it go away on the train, right? And he's like, I don't pretend to be an expert. And he's like, well, you made it go away. And he's like, look, I'm happy to teach you, but like for now I need to rest. I love how exhausted Lupin looks. I love how exhausted, like he's fucking over it because he's been transforming. By the way, how often is there a full moon in a year? Like, I don't
know, honestly. I would say probably once a month, maybe. I mean, no. I think it's really. I feel like I see him here quite a bit. Okay, I was gonna say mainly because I walk my dog at night every single day, so like I see the moon in the morning and at night all the time. I see it a lot. That full moon.
Full moon happens roughly every 29.5 days. There you go.
Nice.
I honestly, I would have
fucking idiot.
I would have said I was about to say like twice a year.
No, it's definitely more than that. Because it's also too. It's like in the South, like that's always a big thing of like, oh, it's a full moon. Like people are always like superstitious or make jokes about it and stuff. or people are always crazy. Like I do believe like that there are like just those crazy days when you're like, one of a big expression here is, dude, is it a fucking full moon tonight? Like, why are people are just acting crazy
weird,
and like traffic or doing dumb shit, you know?
Not superstitious, just a little stitious.
Yeah. Harry Potter.
Okay, so we get this moment with Fred and George where Harry's introduced to the Marauders map, right? Because he's trying to sneak into Hogsmeade. Love the idea of the Marauders map. I always thought it was pretty fucking awesome, right? One meme that I will never get over is like, okay, so Fred and George had the Marauders map for so long and never saw that a man named Peter Pettigrew was sleeping with Ron every night.
Yeah, that's fucking great. Or is it the corner of the Marauders map that you see the two people fucking? Do you know what I'm talking about? It shows two pair of feet like that, and then two pair in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's somebody getting like.
Yeah,
I can't remember what that's from though.
No, I can't remember either.
I don't think it's from the official map, but
sounds like a Family Guy thing. No.
I mean, hell, it might be. There's a lot of my memories that are Family Guy thing. But yeah, there's like stuff. The Marauders map, I think, is one of the coolest things they have in Harry next to the invisibility cloak. Like, it's so dope.
I don't love that we never find out who Moony, Padfoot, Wormtail, and Prongs are. Because when he obviously he opens the map and he's like messes Moony, like Wormtail, Padfoot, Prongs proudly present the Marauders map. So for the uninitiated, Moony is Lupin. Moony because Moon, Lupin, whatever. Padfoot is Harry's father because he was able to transform himself into a... No, sorry. Padfoot is Sirius because of padded feet, the dog's padded feet, right? So
yeah.
Padfoot. Wormtail is Wormtail, right? We know who Wormtail is. It's Peter Pettigrew. He used to be in their friendship circle. And then Prongs is Harry's dad because his Patronus was a stag, so Prongs. Like
yeah.
So
the antler.
Yeah. So I just thought that was cool, and like I always was disappointed they never said that in the movies. But all right, so Harry ends up finding his way to Hogsmeade, right? Like he kind of goes through like this tunnel under the one-eyed crone in the books, ends up through the sort of Zonko's joke shop, whatever, or sweet shop. And then he kind of like meets up with Ron and Hermione, and like they play this like little fucking thing with like, you know, cutesy pie slipping over with fucking Draco and shit. Yay. Oh, yay. And then we kind of like the big sort of revelation of this scene is like at Madame Rosmerta's sort of like pub, and he sneaks in. We get Fudge, we get McGonagall, and it's this private conversation with Rosmerta, McGonagall, and Fudge is basically like pretty much like filling Rosmerta in about Sirius and what he meant to the Potters. Sirius was their friend, and then he betrayed them for you know who. He kind of like gave you know who information as to their whereabouts, whatever, and then like he kind of like blew himself up, and all that was less. I love the delivery. His finger. That's all that was left was a finger.
Yeah, the pinky.
Sirius just, what did he say? He's like, they didn't just destroy him. He destroyed him. He didn't just kill him.
He didn't just kill him. He destroyed him.
That's right. And then we get one of my least favorite scenes in this entire movie. This, he was their friend. It's so bad. He was their friend, and he betrayed them. I hope he finds me.
Oh, here. Oh,
it's
okay. Gotcha.
So bad, dude. I look. I know I don't want to rag on a child actor because that's exactly what it is, but it just sticks out like a sore thumb because I can't deal. I hope he finds me because when he does, I'm gonna be ready. When he does, I'm gonna kill him. It's the close up. Maybe the close up.
That and like the angst is just not. For one thing, an angry British teenager is just never threatening. That just never is. It's just like, wait, I know you're not going to do anything about it. Like if you were an American, you might get up and knock my dick in the dirt. But like I'm gonna go home and write a strongly worded letter to my headmaster.
Pull out an AR-15 if you're in the States, dude.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, we know nothing's gonna happen, but I think that the not only that, it has this really angsty kind of like something in the way, like sound like kind of angsty shit. And with Harry, he just doesn't really portray that well sometimes.
He does this breathing thing, like this is
yes.
I'm like, can't deal with this, dude.
I love those moments of Harry where it does all kind of like his own mythology and stuff catching up to him. I like those because I think it's very real. But yeah, it's you gotta take it with a grain of salt, but it's gotta be a kind of a medium-sized grain of salt for me to take it down with, you know.
Gotcha. The next scene we get Lupin and Harry. So this is the Patronus lessons. These go on for quite a while in the books. We only get like I think 2 lessons in this movie. I think just 1 actually. We only get just this 1 lesson, but the books are kind of like the book is like peppered with these sort of lessons. So Lupin asks Harry to think of a memory, a very happy memory. He lets out the Dementor, which he later finds out is a boggart, right? Because I love that revelation that like Harry's like, that's one fucking angry Dementor. And he's like, that was a boggart because the real thing is going to be real tough, right? You know? And Harry fails the first time, and Lupin asks him what his memory was, and he's like, well, it was the first time I rode a broom. And I love Lupin, right? Like Lupin's way of teaching, you really get a sense of Lupin's way of teaching in this movie. It's just like this gentle but like very straightforward, like that's not enough. It's not enough. You know, you need something more powerful than that. And then like Harry's
he doesn't survive the series, does he?
Lupin does not survive the series, no.
Okay. I thought so. I thought I remembered reading that, but I don't remember what happens to him after Azkaban. I really have no idea.
So Lupin dies in the Battle of Hogwarts with his wife Tonks at the end in the last one.
Oh, that's right. Because I remember J.K. Rowling talking about she did that to prove a point of like there's really all there is at the end of war is orphans kind of thing.
Yep. Okay, so Harry's finally successful with the Patronus, and then he finds out like Lupin asks what the memory was, and he's like, well, it's a memory, but like I don't think if it's real. And it's just like him being happy with his parents, right?
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I was reading. Why the fuck does he keep giving chocolate to? Why does he? Because even Hermione said something about it. She's like, "Oh, it's a good thing he gave you that chocolate." Blah blah blah. It's like, what does that fight off werewolf? Like, I don't understand. Like what is it?
I think it's just a blood sugar thing, isn't it?
Apparently, it's the only thing I can recall about it is that Madame Pomfrey saying that Lupin knows what he's doing, seeing as he knew chocolate counteracts the effects of Dementors. What? I don't know if I believe this.
Yeah, I don't think they explain it in the books because that's still a question mark for me.
Huh? I'll keep digging. I'm sorry. What was your question?
No, I don't have a question. I'm just moving on. So Scabbers is missing, right? Ron's kind of like in a tiff with Hermione. He's like, it's a great morning if you're being ripped to pieces. Ripped to pieces. I don't know what you mean. And he's like, yeah, Scabbers is going missing, blah, blah. Hagrid notifies the trio that Buckbeak's been sentenced to death thanks to Malfoy. And then we kind of like see, okay, we get this moment where Harry looks at the Marauders map and sees Peter Pettigrew on the map. And you're just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Hold the phone. I just overheard a conversation that Peter Pettigrew was dead. So what the fuck's he doing in the castle? Harry goes out at night. By the way, this is such a book reader's thing. This is also the movie that took the kids out of their uniform. So they're no longer wearing cloaks as much in this movie
yeah. Gotcha.
or in this series moving forward. They're kind of like in more sort of like casual clothes. Like Harry, like later is in like just a straight up like jacket, wearing like Converse shoes, and I'm just like, I remember being like, oh, okay, that's. I mean, I guess like the books never have them wearing casual clothes. They're always in like cloaks and shit. I guess like it makes them look like less culty.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that I feel like that's something that, like, the new people always wear their uniforms to a T, and then by third year, it's like your tie's a little loose, maybe your shirt's untucked, like,
Yeah, it's such a great touch, especially like when we're at the when we first meet the Buckbeak, and like you see like how I think it's Seamus's tie. It's like so small,
Mhm.
like all their shirts are untucked, and I'm like, this absolutely tracks, because when you get to like high school, or at least like ninth grade or whatever, you just really don't really give a shit about your appearance, um, despite like the teachers like telling you to tuck your shirt in. All right, so Harry encounters Snape here. Actually, I went by it in a very cool moment. Is like Harry looking around, like Peter Pettigrew is approaching, and in the sound mix, you just hear like the little
The patter.
like of the rat just going past, but you don't see it, obviously. And then Snape encounters Harry. He's like, okay, what's this? And then he finds the map, and the map's been booby trapped to like kind of like give like a fucking message to anyone who is not supposed to access it. Lupin comes by. Lupin says, blah, blah, I think it's a Zonko's product, whatever. And then, Snape like starts dropping little hints, right? Like, well, out for a little walk in the moonlight, right? Like, nice little. And this is like I said, where we see the scratches on Lupin. Snape leaves. Lupin goes back to the classroom with Harry. I love this. This is one of my favorite pieces of acting from David Thewlis in this movie, is when Harry notifies Lupin about Peter Pettigrew's existence, and Lupin's delivery of "that's not possible." I'm just like, I love it. It's so good. It's so ominous. It's like, why is he afraid of Peter Pettigrew?
Right. Well, and one of the guys who, I assume he and Harry Potter and Peter Pettigrew and Sirius all made the Marauders map because it has their names. Like, I'm assuming they're the ones who made it, right? Because it's like
yeah. So Lupin, like I said, Lupin is
right.
Wormtail.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that's why their names were on. I didn't know but I love the fact that he's like, okay, well, this will help me find Sirius, and it'll kind of know where he is, and I can alert Sirius to get the fuck out of Dodge. But then also the just that addition of like, okay, well, now I really have to see what's going on with if Peter's alive and Sirius is alive, then something's going on here.
Right, exactly. We get this moment with the divination, like Hermione kind of like rage quits, right? Like she just kind of like knocks over the crystal ball, and then Harry goes to return it later, and then as he's placing the crystal ball back, he sees Sirius, right, calling his name in such an ominous way, and then he's in a fucking terrifying moment is just like grabbed from behind by Trelawney, who's like in this insane voice, he will return tonight.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, tonight. He who betrayed his friends, who hearts rot with murder, shall break free.
Yeah,
dude, it's so great. Innocent blood shall be spilt, and servant and master shall be reunited once more.
Yeah, I love it. It's like Evil Dead 2. Like, we were the things that were and will be again. Like that shit. Oh, that's the only part of Evil Dead that has ever scared me. Is in that second one. He's like, oh, that shit creeps me out.
So good. Okay, so we move on, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione are walking through the courtyard, and they see the executioner of Buckbeak just sitting there with a giant axe.
Well, yeah,
like maybe bigger than what you require. Like, I don't think you need an axe that big. Just it's.
Well, and to be fair, it's like he pulls out like a Swiss Army knife. He's like, it's gonna take me a minute. Like he just starts. It's like, I guess I'd rather have the big axe than the little knife.
One little detail that's not covered in this movie is the executioner is a guy named McNair, and McNair, you find out in the fourth one, is a Death Eater.
Damn,
like they
got hoes all over the world.
Just cool. Yeah. We're everywhere. We are Legion. You talk to me about the scene where Hermione clocks Draco.
Oh man, I don't know anybody who didn't like this. Because I think they did a really good job with. I mean, I don't think he's been physically assaulted yet in these books or movies. Like, I don't think he's actually, some people just really need to get their asses kicked sometimes. And I think that's a great one because you're expecting her to drop the spell, and then you're not expecting her to punch this dude in the fucking head, which I love. So he's gotten his ass kicked twice in this, 3 times now, including the Hufflepuff or whatever the fuck that thing is, Hippogriff. So he's just I think this is the one that Malfoy probably gets fucked up the most. He gets punched in the face, and then Harry like dogs him out at Hogsmeade, and then he gets scratched by a chupacabra or whatever the thing is. I think that's fucking hilarious. Like he would do less damage to himself if he did nothing, but like he continues to act like a jackass and just keeps ruining his third year.
Dude, it's so good. Like, you love to see it though. Like, whenever he kind of gets like reprimanded, like even in the next one when like Mad Eye Moody turns him into like turns, I think Crabbe or Goyle into like a weasel.
Oh yeah,
he like lifts him up and down and shit. I don't know. Oh wait, no, he turns Malfoy into a weasel and he puts him in like fucking Thor's pants.
That's what it is.
Yeah. All right, so we're at Hagrid's hut, and we get a stone thrown at Harry, who we later find out is Hermione in the bushes. This whole thing is going to come back, so I'm just going to cover this like sort of like in lightning mode, right? So, we kind of like we get the what we assume is the execution, like they're up there, like whatever, and then Buckbeak gets executed, and then like Scabbers bites Ron, runs off towards the Whomping Willow, and then we get the Grim, right? Sirius is here. Sirius takes Ron into the Whomping Willow, and we end up in the Shrieking Shack. Now, I read that the Shrieking Shack sort of like set was pretty cool and pretty complicated. It's like built on like this sort of like giant like hydraulic soundstage, so it can like sort of like shift, which is fucking awesome.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at Gary Oldman's teeth in this. So good.
Dude, yes. Let's talk about the revelation of Sirius as he's standing behind the door. Because Gary Oldman is a guy who physically changes his appearance pretty often. He loves getting into it. He loves getting into character. And as we kind of like see the door swing open, you kind of just see how like malnourished he is and how the clothing that he's wearing is absolutely tattered. His hair is long. His eyes are sunken.
The prison tats, like the chest tats and stuff.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Talk to me about Gary Oldman in this, man. It's fantastic. He doesn't even look like him, dude.
Yeah, I think I think this kind of like he looks more Rasputin-ish like to me in this one. But the thing that I like about his look that Charles Manson kind of, like the tattoos on the knuckles and stuff is it's like, but this is how committed this guy was to the cause, that he could have, I'm assuming that he probably could have gotten out of Azkaban at any point. I don't know if they ever explicitly explain how he got out of Azkaban, but
no,
I feel like for someone like Sirius Black, he was like, okay, this is just the hand I've been dealt. I have to stay here in prison. If I run, I'm going to get caught again. Like, I'll just do my time until we come out and like fight Voldemort. But I love just his impatience. I love his,
let's kill him.
I did my waiting. I think he did such a good job. And like, there's something that comes across effortlessly in his character that's really hard to translate from the book, which is like this immediate relationship with Harry where like Sirius would die for James and Lily, like he would have. And it's very believable. And I think that Gary Oldman just has a great job of like, he's almost this Jack Sparrow kind of character in this of like, and that's the last guy I would want to fight against. And he's on my team. And it's like, I think that's why when he dies though, it is such a gut punch. Like, it hits harder sometimes than probably Snape or Voldemort or Dumbledore, because like Sirius Black was just like this dude who spent all this time and then he got out for like 2 years and then immediately died. And I was like, that fucking sucks, dude. Like, that really kind of blows. So I think his desperation, but also his kind of commitment to everything really pays off really, really well. I think he nails it.
I think he's outstanding, especially in this sequence too, when, like you said, he's just like, I did my waiting, 12 years of it in Azkaban. But like, this is the twist scene, right? Like, this is the moment where we kind of like get all of the puzzle pieces are now falling into place. Like, Lupin walks in and he's like, he knocks Sirius to the ground and he says, finally, the flesh reflects the madness within. And Sirius says, well, you'd know all about the madness within, wouldn't you, Remus? And Remus, like, Lupin helps him up. And then it's just like, whoa, okay. And obviously our main trio are just like super confused by this, right? Like, it's shit, like Hermione's just like, no, like, I trusted you and all this time you're with him. Like, you've been his friend, blah, blah. I love, like, Lupin just straight up being like, well, Hermione, like, already knowing that he's a werewolf, right? Like, just being like, he's a werewolf, that's why he's been missing classes. And Lupin just straight up being like, how long have you known? And she's like, since Professor Snape set the essay. I love all of this. I love the way it's revealed. Sirius just being like, enough of this, like, let's kill him. Like you said, the impatience and like them assuming that Sirius is here to kill Harry when in fact it's like, it's the rat, right? You're not the rat. Like,
they take a good goddamn long time to get to it, though. He's like, only one will die tonight. It's like, can you specify? There's 6 people in this room. Like, Jesus Christ, dude.
You know what, dude? Like, I discovered on my rewatch this time around that like these the 3 kids make a lot of assumptions about a lot of people. Like, dude, they absolutely vilify the shit out of Snape. Why? Because he's mean to them? Because he wears black and he's dark and brooding? Like, Snape's just here to help you, right, bro.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a teacher. I'm not here to be your friend.
Right. But like, look who rocks up, man. Snape. Expelliarmus, whatever, blah blah. Like, vengeance is sweet. It's even better when you find out like that these 2 bullied Snape as a kid, right? Like, this goes deep. This goes back a lot. There's like history here.
Yeah, it's the hall monitor becoming a cop and finally pulling over the quarterback. But it's even crazier because it's like, as much as Lupin and Sirius think that they're part of this like underground cause for James and Lily, Snape is like, you have no idea. Like, you have no idea. Like, you guys have sacrificed, and we all have, but you have no idea like what I've been through. It's great, and I love that Snape's like you don't really know what side Snape is on to the very end almost.
No, yeah, I love it. I love it a lot. Harry pulls out Hermione's wand and disarms Snape, like smashes him into the fucking bedroom there, into the fucking, yeah. And it's like, whoa, okay, you attacked a teacher, like, whatever. And then like, he's like, tell me about Peter Pettigrew. Like, you kind of like get this whole scene of exposition. He's lived for 12 years. It's a fucking long lifespan for a common garden rat. He cut off his finger, transformed into a rat, blah blah. I love like Sirius just grabbing it off Ron, and just like, I love that both of them are like trying to like I guess disanimagus him, right? Like, as he's kind of like running. I love that he's also running across a piano, so you can just kind of like get the discordant like keys just like doot 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 doot, like, it's good. And then like they managed to finally get him as soon as like he enters that hole, and yeah, there he is. This is Timothy Spall, father of Rafe Spall.
Oh shit!
If you want a little connection to our last, our last episode, yeah. But yeah, Timothy's he's had a huge career in like British film and TV. I'm pretty sure, and theater. I'm pretty sure as well. But like immediately he starts like groveling to Harry, right? Like he's just like, and I love how like don't speak to him, like like Sirius is just so protective of Harry immediately. Um, yeah, he sold Lily and James to Voldemort. Uh, yeah, this is good stuff. All of this is good stuff. So um they take Lupin away. Like Harry's decision is to give him to the Dementors, right? Like not to kill him. Um, and then they go back up to the Whomping Willow, and this is when we kind of get the sort of like the beginning of the climax, right? We get one little moment with Harry and Sirius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sirius is looking up at the castle, and he's like, this is a fantastic moment, by the way. He's like, he basically offers to come and live with him. Um, and if you're not like familiar with like Order of the Phoenix, you're just like, where the fuck is his home? Where's he gonna? Is he gonna live in fucking Azkaban with him? What the fuck? Where's he gonna ask him to live? And you find out like later, it's like Grimmauld Place, which is like that apartment that
Mm-hmm.
expands in Order of the Phoenix. Um, but yeah, it's a lovely little tender moment, which is fantastic, right?
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry. I was listening, but I just totally realized, like, oh, so I guess Lupin has been a werewolf for a long time, because if he made the Marauder map and his name was Mooney, okay, he's been a werewolf for a
Mooney.
long time. Never mind. That
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like this like dog versus werewolf fight. It just, it looks like Lupin's dogs have rabies and like mange. Like he's kind of, when I picture a werewolf, like I like the bipedal just wolf, but like give me a little bulk, like give me an American werewolf. God damn it. Like
I think so too. This is what I wanted to talk about. So let's talk about the transformation, right? So firstly, oh my god, is this incredible? Like we the way it's shot is like um Hermione shouts Harry, and both Sirius, if you watch it, Sirius and Harry turn, and you see Hermione like point to the moon, and we zoom back out to Lupin, who's holding kind of like Pettigrew hostage. We zoom back out to the moon. We come back on Lupin, close up to his eyeball as it like starts to like dilate, and then the bloodshot, and then we zoom back out. He drops the wand. He starts shaking, and Sirius is so good here, right? Like he goes to grab him. He's like, the man you truly are. This heart is who you are. Like the flesh is only flesh. Wormtail grabs the wand, gets disarmed by Harry, and then transformed back into a rat again and disappears. We never see Wormtail again, by the way, until the end of the fourth movie, when he kind of like revitalizes Voldemort.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, like this, I think this transformation scene's kind of up there. Like if you like, your thoughts about like the design of the creature is what it is, but I think the actual transformation is fucking up there and should be talked about in the kind of pantheon of werewolf transformations, man. Because you see like the fingers, the nails coming out, you see the mouth coming out, the back getting fucking blown out of the suit, the legs coming out of the suit, out of the shoes. I think it's solid.
Yeah, I think especially because there's some times where that is, I mean, a good chunk of it is digital, but there's like some shots where it's definitely Gary Oldman with a physical prop that is like mid transformation, and I always love seeing that. I think the design's a little wonky, CGI is a little wonky, but I like the way the feet, how are dog feet, how they have that like back, like
so
the inverted knees,
like
almost
the L-shaped sort of thing.
I love that, and like if it were just a little bit beefier, I would definitely dig it. But it's like the fact that it's
skinny,
yeah, definitely skinny. But I guess when you're fighting just a regular dog, they're probably like, we don't want something that's fucking, we don't want like
two dogs.
Yeah, we don't want like fucking Anthony Hopkins in the Wolfman, like this big beefy linebacker, like Wolfman. I actually like Sirius Black's. Is it Animus, right?
Animagus.
His manga is the wolf, and his Animagus is the wolf, and I like the design of that more than actually like the werewolf, like the dark.
Oh, the Grim looks
yes,
sick.
the gold eyes and like the black fur. I really like that. I think he looks better than the werewolf does.
Yes, I 100% agree. I maintain that one of the best looking werewolves is in Van Helsing. Actually, the design of that werewolf
It's all right.
is
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, I liked it as a kid a lot more, but yeah, it still looks pretty good.
It's a little too digital, but
it's the pointy ears. I don't love the.
Oh, you don't like the Batman?
That's a little bit much.
Yeah,
I love obviously the Wolfman from Monster Squad. It's just what I grew up with. American Werewolf in London is like good, but I love like the Lon Chaney.
What movie is that?
Do I? Shut up, you dumb cunt.
What movie is that?
My movie had a Wolfman and he gets blown up with dynamite. Yours had a Wolfman and he got called off with a dog song. He got whistled away.
Oh man. One of my favorite shots here as well is when he howls at the moon. It's amazing because like if you pause it, which I've got to pause, you do see like the little hairs on its neck. It's awesome. Such a sick like silhouette shot. All right, so Lupin starts to advance towards the trio. Dude, can we talk about Snape protecting the three? Like, come on, it's so good.
I dig it.
Like, it's a total sort of like wow moment. And it's so small, like it tells you so much about Snape in such a little moment.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It's a little bit of vindication.
Yeah. So Sirius and Lupin fight, right? Like they kind of get into it. It's pretty ferocious, actually. Harry gives chase, and then like you hear a little sort of like call out in the bushes, and Lupin takes off in towards the Forbidden Forest. And yeah, so and then Sirius is like kind of like very injured. He ends up at sort of like the little riverbank, and here come the Dementors, baby. Here's the big moment. So we get like 100 Dementors, like kind of like closing in. I love the little shot of like Sirius like waking up for a second and just like showing how terrified he is, and then like the Dementors, like essentially you see Sirius's soul leave his body, but they're saved by an unknown person who Harry believes is his father. In like this big Patronus sequence, Harry wakes up in the what are this, like the medical wing, or like the, I can't remember what they call this.
Infirmary?
Yeah, infirmary. That's it. I knew it was like an older word. I couldn't remember. Yeah, he says, "Look, I saw my dad. Like he sent the Dementors away." Hermione feels him. Hermione says they've got him locked up in the tower. They're going to suck out his soul. Dumbledore comes in and he's like, "All right, look, it's like if it is him, you've only got some time to save him. 3 turns should do it. If all goes to plan, then you might save more than one life tonight, which is cool."
What's that animal's name? Ginger Root or whatever. What's his name? American Outlaw or something.
Bucky Barnes.
Yeah, Bucky Barnes. What is that thing's name? Nernroot?
Buckbeak.
Buckbeak. There we go. Nernroot. I like digging.
You're taking the piss.
Yeah, and I'm like, I honestly had to think about it for a second. I was like, I knew it was a double O in there somewhere. I was like, there's a Gingru something in there, but I can't fucking remember. To me, that reminds me of like when Conan, whenever you watch Conan bits, and he's like, "I come from Zip Zop with the planet Galorpa." Like Conan is really good at making fun of shit like this. And normally it kind of annoys me a little bit, but I'm like, it's Conan, it's pretty funny. Like actually, he gets it right like most of the time.
I need to rewatch that Hot Ones, man. It was so good. Anyway, they flip the time turner. They go back in time. I think this is cool, like the way it's shown, right? Like, you just see like people like zipping in and out of the infirmary as them two just sort of like stand there stationary. Like Harry's just confused, just looking around. And then we like kind of like head down to Hagrid's hut. I love, by the way, the camera work here. Like as they head out towards like the probably like the stairs or whatever, the camera goes through the clock, the big clock tower.
Oh yeah,
which is sick.
Yeah. It kind of like covers the entrance. Yeah, I like that clock too.
Oh, so cool. And if you kind of like notice the score here, you hear like little ticking.
Yes.
Like for the next like 20 minutes or so, like the little tick.
You know what I need to? I bought
it's
Lindsay Hogwarts Legacy for Christmas, and I need to just go ahead and play
I bought
that.
Stephanie that too.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
think
funny.
Lindsay played it for about 3 hours and hasn't touched it since. So I want to go back and I want to play it because I think it'd be a lot of fun. I heard it was great.
I want to play it too. Steph loved it. Apparently, she had an absolute blast.
Can you play Quidditch in it?
I don't know about Quidditch, but you can definitely fly brooms and you can definitely fly a hippogriff.
Okay, cool. I dug like the Chamber of Secrets
sold.
GameCube game. Like that was fun in the early 2000s. Like,
dude,
that was a lot.
I had the Philosopher's Stone PlayStation 1 game.
Nice. Holy shit.
Dude, they look so blocky.
I was going to say, yeah, it's like N64 graphic.
Crazy. Yeah, man, I don't know how we're going to cover this really. Like, I mean, you know, we're kind of like seeing things from different perspectives, right? Like they're just kind of like hiding in the background. Obviously they save Buckbeak. I don't know. I don't know how else to cover this, like other than like the fact that we've really covered it already.
Yeah, well, it ties up a lot of
like
like loose ends of like where did the stones come from, whose animagus was that, like, and you can get into some like cocksucky kind of stuff of like, so you have to do it because you've already, you know, you can start a snake eating its own tail very quickly, but I personally don't like. That's movie stuff. You can't really think about it that hard. We're not actually time traveling. We're making a movie here. So there is like an element to that, but for the most part, I love being on. This is some of my favorite imagery of the movie is Hagrid's shack. Like he's down there on the water, the stone steps, like all the pumpkins. Like he lives with just nature. I'm like, yeah, I bet you this would be a dope place to vacation. Like this would be really cool.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, the visual aesthetics of this entire movie is fantastic. One thing that I did want to talk about in this sequence is Dumbledore must have known that they were going to time turner this later. Because he starts to stall, if you notice. So, like, as they exit the door, he's like pointing out at the gardens and stuff, trying to like prevent them from turning around. And he must have done that already, knowing that Hermione's got a time turner to save Buckbeak.
Right. That's kind of one of my things is like, I feel like the first time it was a lot faster, or maybe it was just the way it was edited. But yeah, this time he's like, oh, you see this right over there. And he's like trying to stall him. So I'm like, I'm guessing he's doing it just in case they're down there. But he's like, worst comes to worst, I just waste time for no reason. But I think they're down there doing something.
Right.
So.
Right. I love, oh, executioner, your services are no longer required. I will take a large brandy.
Yeah, a small tea or a large brandy, yeah.
It's so good. Fantastic. So they've saved Buckbeak, right? Well, according to you, Leather Root or whatever the fuck.
Nern Root. It's in Skyrim. Get it right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But by the way, I know we've talked about it a lot, but Skyrim. Do you want to be a vampire or do you want to be a werewolf?
I've always been the werewolf. The Champions Guild.
Yeah.
I love doing doing the vampire thing. Everybody should do it once. The Dawn Guard DLC is really fun, but it's way less of a pain in the ass to deal with than being a vampire. Being a vampire is a fucking commitment.
You gotta keep fucking drinking blood, dude. You gotta you gotta sneak in, drink blood without being noticed, like every like night or whatever. It becomes a burden. And really, it just kind of like it makes you think of like how it must suck to be a vampire.
Yeah. What do you think you're gonna go to the pharmacy and get some film developed at 10 o'clock at night? That bitch has been closed for 3 hours. Where you been?
Right. So they're waiting outside the Whomping Willow. Harry's so sure that his father conjured the Patronus, right? And then like we kind of like get to the sequence that we're talking about here. Hermione shouts, like does the howl, right? What are you doing? Saving your life.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. And then we get to the riverbank, and Harry's waiting, right? Waiting for his father to show up. Waiting. And Hermione's just like, look, Sirius is dying, dude. Something needs to happen. And I guess like instinctively Harry just knows, right? He's gonna go. He's got to go. And he conjures the Patronus, the big Patronus, with like I love this. I love that it's like a big like radiating shield, like the way that it's shown.
Well,
it's pretty fantastic.
And I guess because when you see it from Harry's point of view the first time, it's definitely the stag. So I'm like, is that something where like, so how the second time is there's no stag there? So I'm like, how did he see that? And I'm guessing just in the moment of getting his soul, dick, and balls sucked out of his face by the Dementors, that he's probably just wishful thinking and sees this light and thinks it's a stag or whatever. That's the only thing I can really think. It's not a big hang up. But I do kind of wish the werewolf chased them. I do wish it wasn't so like when Hermione like howls and they just hide. I wish there was a little bit more cat and mouse there to be like, oh shit, okay. Now we can't get caught. Like we can't go ask for help chasing this werewolf because we'll get we'll fuck up time. Like we have to find him.
That's a good point. I
wish there was a little bit more cat and mouse, but I love the callback to Griffin shit popping up and kicking the the werewolf in the face.
It's funny, like what you mentioned about the way visually the Patronus is portrayed, because like, different. I feel like that each director has a different sort of way of doing it. So we've only seen two different directors handle the the Patronus, but like here it's like a shield, and we see the stag briefly. But in the later movies, like I think the ones that are directed by. Oh, God damn it. I'm blanking on the name. He ended up directing Order of the Phoenix and then like all of them after that. You see the Patronus as literally an animal. You don't see this shield version or anything. It's literally just an animal. And then there's one like weird sequence at the start of Order of the Phoenix where he kind of uses it as like a sort of like a ball. Like he points his wand when Dudley gets attacked and then like directs the ball the other way. I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, so they save Sirius. Sirius flies off on the hippogriff, but not before he talks to Harry about what he means to him, right? Like he's like, you look so much like your father except for your eyes. You have your mother's eyes. And Harry's like, yeah, I know, I've been told that so many times. And I love before like Sirius leaves, like he talks to Hermione, he's just like, you really are the brightest witch of your age. It's good stuff. It's so cruel that I spent so much time with James and Lily and you so little. This is why you hire Goldman, right? This is why like you can genuinely see the emotion in his face as he says these words. He says, the ones that love us never really leave us. And it's just like, man, this is Oldman. You know, It's so fantastic. And you can always find them in here. Points to his heart. And then we kind of come back and we've saved 2 lives. Lupin's now wrapping up. He's kind of like leaving. He's like, now, since I'm no longer your teacher, I feel no guilt whatsoever about giving this back to you. Hands him back the Marauder's map, which is fantastic. And then, Harry receives a nice little gift during breakfast, and it's the firebolt, baby.
Yeah, that was cool. I love that.
This is probably one of my first memories of seeing a movie end on a freeze frame. I was so like taken aback by like the freeze frame, dude. I was like, that's cool. The way we end on like Harry's face as he's like taking off on the firebolt, and it's just like him like just shouting. I love it. I love it a lot, man. That's it, baby. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Wow, we broke into the Potter universe. You know, we finally covered one of these movies. This movie, this series, this franchise means so much to me, and you know, like I think that without these books, and if I hadn't read them at the time that I did, I don't think I would have taken a interest in any literacy. I think this really was a fantastic introduction for me, like just reading in general, just getting me interested, you know? And I think it's like that for a lot of kids. I think, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I probably wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for these books. I think there's despite the person that J.K. Rowling has turned out to be, the values that are in these books are incredibly valuable
Mm-hmm.
to young kids as they're growing up. Like this idea about family, this idea about loyalty and friendship and doing the right thing, and all that stuff. And the lessons that they teach you in these books are fantastic. And yeah, I'm so grateful for these books being written. And yeah, man, I'm I'm tapped out. Give me your final thoughts, dude.
I liked it a lot. I think it's a great movie. I think they did a really good job starting to make the tone a little less juvenile, kind of letting people know what direction the franchise was headed in. But I think they do a pretty good job of there's just enough fun and games, and there's just enough serious stuff where it's like there's a murder on the loose, he betrayed your parents, blah blah blah. Like I think there's a lot of serious elements to it that get handled well on the back end, but I like it because it's a little duplicitous of like, we think we're just in for another year of like fun and magic and we'll find a hidden room, but it's like, no, you're having to fight a werewolf that may or may not have betrayed your mother and father, and then a man who turns into a rat who's been sleeping with your best friend for a dozen years. Like it's what? Like this is kind of sobering. Like what? So I think they do it.
I also, something we didn't talk about, I also like that this is the only one that doesn't deal with Voldemort.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, there is no like. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I guess the big bad is really Peter Pettigrew. I mean, like I guess like in the long run.
Well, Sirius for the longest time until it's Peter Pettigrew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like how they build Sirius up as like Vader, and then he ends up being a good guy.
Yes. That's why it's so nuanced to me, because like I feel like this one has a lot more nuance because we don't really have a main antagonist. We just have things that Harry's dealing with constantly, like overcoming his fears with the Dementors, and then finding about his past with Sirius, and him having be his godfather. Like I love all of that stuff.
No, absolutely, yeah, and I think they do a good job of just kind of counterbalancing the fun that we've had in the first two films with the seriousness and the direction that the movie's going to go from that the series is going to go from here on out. I thought they did a really good job. I dug it. I still like Christopher Columbus a lot. I love Mrs. Doubtfire. But I'd be interested to see.
God, I forgot he directed that.
Yeah, oh my God, I fucking love Mrs. Doubtfire.
Same.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I definitely did. It was a good pick.
Awesome, man. Well, that is my final pick of movies that we're going to be doing for quite a while. So I'm happy. I'm happy with this coverage. I'm happy with how we covered this podcast of this movie. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We know that we'll essentially be halving our audience if we're lucky when we transition over to full-time Breaking Bad, full-time Sopranos for the time being. But we like what we do. We like being passionate about what we talk about. And we hope you'll join us on our journey as we continue to cover Breaking Bad and introduce our new podcast as well. We've still got 2 more episodes here on the main feed, so look out for those. Colin, you've got 1 more pick, and then we will be making an informed pick for 300, which will be our final episode for a while here on the main feed. So please do look out for that. And check out the socials. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Check out the Green Room. Please support the show. It's greenroom.com/feature. If you do like what you're hearing, if you want to continue listening to movie coverage, we'll definitely be doing that on there. And otherwise, yeah, check out the Breaking Bad podcast, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll catch you guys later.